You said it. It's another rematch of a lower bracket run, and Peps surely are a little bit like the Punisher meme right now. No, 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 no. Wait.
Wait. Not again, not again. Oh, Team Peps, Virtus Pro, that's going to be our first match. Low9 versus Zero Tenacity as well. That's going to be an absolute bomb. And Low9 have really raised in our estimations after knocking out Insomnia yesterday, which, to be honest, we all kind of bet against. We all thought Insomnia were going to walk away with that one, but Low9 had an absolute lights-out performance. In particular, Wolver and Pineclone being absolute rocks for this team has shown just how far hard work and dedication can get you when you've got the talent to try and make it work.
Yeah, and being able to really just adjust around the Wolverine without needing the pick and bans to be able to take Demon out of the way. And speaking about the pick and bans, we can have a little look at how it works, because Ignite runs off of the advanced pick and ban system, which is very different to the ban system that you yourselves have at home in your ranked gameplay. For starters, we have save slots. Those shield positions means that if you lock a hero there, your opponent can no longer ban them. And the other thing that's different is that all of these bans affect only the enemy. So if, say, you ban Loki, the other team doesn't get access to him, but you absolutely can still run him.
Yeah, non-mirrored bans really do shake up the formula here. Allows you to target ban the enemy team a little bit more if you're so inclined. We have seen teams try and shut down picks such as Tuzi's Psylocke earlier on by getting rid of that. And it really has added a lot of volatility to power rankings, to be honest. Some teams have adapted better than others to the overall ban structure. We'll have to see, out of Virtus Pro and Team Peps, who has managed to figure things out a little bit more easily, though. Virtus Pro, their first series that they fell with, they kind of didn't have a great grasp on the meta. They kind of got outbanned by Rad. After Cloak and Dagger, Luna, and Loki were taken away, kind of forced onto some comps they weren't quite as comfortable with. Maybe Team Peps can try and do the same thing. Let's have a quick look who's going to be populating that roster.
Yeah, Peps are very versatile when it comes to all of the heroes that they can play. Hardest the Punisher and also the Winter Soldier. He's very, very adept at both, but so too can Leaf flex over to things like the Winter Soldier, and we actually saw him yesterday really getting to pop off against all business, utilizing the fact that AB like putting Snost on that Loki, which just means that Leaf on the Winter Soldier got reset after reset after reset when we headed over to Hell's Heaven.
Fire.
Yeah, both Leaf and Hardest actually both being able to flex onto the Winter Soldier is a great asset for Team Peps as well. It means that there's always the flexibility to maybe pivot over to having Leaf on the Storm or the Wolverine, or you can run the Winter Soldier with the Punisher as well, because Hardest is often happy to flex on over to the Punisher. That is one of the priority picks for Team Peps. This is a team that does seem to be very centralized around their duelist players, but the X Factor can really come from Beetle as well, but Beetle's going to have their work out for them going up against this legendary Vanguard line.
Yeah, X Factor is pretty much the definition of Virtus Pro. Look them up in the dictionary and you will just see star power listed under that meaning. This is a roster that a lot of players have said is the best in the world, and we have to see whether they even get the opportunity to prove that, because Harry, they're in the lower bracket run now. It was a grueling matchup yesterday against Patapim, with Patapim even getting the better of Virtus Pro with their star roster, their normal comp with Sparker on the Psylocke, Dreedle on the Luna, and Nevix on the Emma Frost as well. It was not enough to come on through, but the last time we saw VP fall to a team like Rad, well, the game afterwards, they came back swinging. We thought it might be a little bit close between themselves and Young Kanda in the group stages. Nah, that was one of the fastest matches we've seen in Ignite history.
Yeah, that was a big stomping. It happens. Like, Virtus Pro, when they get mad, they get kind of mad. And currently, like, they are feeling very threatened. As you talked about during our highlight reel, a lot of people consider this team the best in the world. But there's only 2 slots for LAN from EMEA, which means that currently, Virtus Pro have quite the mountain to climb to claim one of those 2 spots. Not only will they have to beat one of the teams in our winners finals out of Rad and Patapim, they're going to have to possibly then break their way into the grand final as well by winning the lower bracket. Winning the lower bracket is the only way that Virtus Pro go to LAN.
Yeah,
Indeed.
which means that they're going to have to go past Berber and Rad. One or the other is going to end up in the lower bracket, and we'll have to find out who it is when we head to the second half of today and get to see those two teams interact and duke it out for the title to continue in that upper bracket. But I definitely think a lot of people are expecting Virtus.pro to come out on top. Peps are definitely really strong when it comes to flexibility of their duelists, and I mean, Beetle is a very strong Captain America. We've also seen him flex onto the Doctor Strange, but I do worry
They've probably been as
about
Captain
just
America. I
the
don't think there's a
capacity
chance
of
they
Finzi
don't.
on that Emma. As you know, it's been a little bit tricky for some Doctor Strangers to bypass the Carbon Crush, the CC immunity to block out Eye of Agamotto and just yoink him out of the Maelstrom of Madness follow through.
Yeah, there's kind of like a stalemate in Ultimates between Doctor Strange and Emma, right? Because the Shield of a Seraphim, very good for trying to block out for Psionic Seduction, can shield so many players from the AoE and create a little bit of cone of safety to allow your strategist to ult in return. But also on the other side, it means landing an Eye of Agamotto is bloody difficult because you're always worried about both the CC immunity and the instant hard stun that can come through from an Emma, because generally your ult's going to be fairly telegraphed unless you've got that Wolver gene in you and you can just roll out of an invisible boundary.
Well, it's going to be round one, Hell's Heaven. This has typically been what Virtus.pro like, running elements of the res composition. We've even seen Phi go over to the Starlord, even without the
Where are you going
res
straight in?
composition,
Okay.
due to being banned out of some of his favorite hero picks. The Torch is likely not going to be able to make it through the pick and ban system, as Emma Frost is going to be immediately removed for Peps, as Peps will be able to secure themselves one-sided Magneto, however.
Yeah, one-sided Magneto, definitely a big asset, especially when we know how DRP plays with that as well. Of course, as always, we're going to be starting off on Domination. And it looks like Virtus.pro are going for tried and true, just letting Finzi dominate the battlefield on Emma Frost.
Yeah, there goes Sparker's Psylocke, but he's gonna be more than happy to potentially flex over to that Adam Warlock, as now we get to see the bans come through at the same time. Virtus.pro are going to be removing Hardest's Punisher. It looks like a duelist who can very quickly generate into that final judgment, and even with all of the defensive capabilities that you have of something like the res composition, can very quickly be torn through with the damage that a Punisher off of a Terror Cape hit is able to provide.
Okay, a low-key protect here. We could be seeing a double Eternal Bond come out from the side of Virtus.pro, but shutting down Nevix's ability to roam in the backline will be quite valuable with the removal of the... Oh, okay. Getting rid of Adam is somewhat interesting. This is going to, like, shut down potentially the res composition, but I feel like Virtus.pro, like, when they have the option, they prefer to run the double duelist.
And
They generally pivot to the res when they're kind of forced to it.
Yeah, and Fire's Human Torch is actually still safe too, currently. As Peps are going to be able to protect one character, so Cloak and Dagger. So no one-sided Cloak and Dagger, which is a strategy that Virtus.pro have started using against their opponents come week 2, after Rad actually were able to deal them their losses with a one-sided Cloak and Dagger pick coming out from Fate, as Luna Snow is now going to be taken out of rotation for Peps' side if Virtus.pro decide to lock this in. But then again, it's actually not immediately locked, so it does look like there was a little bit of discussion, debate. I wonder if they were thinking about potentially taking Leaf's Kraken impacts away, given the fact that Virtus.pro have secured that Loki, which means that the doppelgangers are going to supply an awful lot of resets for the Winter Soldier.
Remember, guys, in our Ignite bans, they're one-sided.
Nice.
So if it's not a mirrored ban on both sides, only one team has access to that hero or villain to bring out their whole kit against this. I'm not surprised to see Nevix move over onto the Hulk, considering that Captain America's banned out. Similar mobility, but also allows for talented Namor players to really get a lot of damage done.
Yeah, and they've also been able to secure the Luna Snow too, which means one-shot potential up against Larry when he uses the Cloak and Dagger Eternal Bond. So you are going to have to be careful about that one, but then again, Peps prioritized the Magneto over the Emma, so they should be able to utilize the Bulwark and mitigate that one-shot capacity against their strategist if they're able to coordinate the cooldowns.
Yeah, considering knowing that they're going up against a Meteor M, we'll have to see if Virtus.pro opt into the Cloak and Dagger here. Slightly, I wouldn't I imagine we probably see a load of Key Luna just for classic backline that Virtus Pro got so much value out of previously.
Team Pep's actually going to be running the Ultron, so triple strategist lineup coming on through from them. Full pocket on Hardest and Leaf, so that they can have the space that the duelists are going to be looking for. As Beetle on that Captain America is going to be going into the backline solo to just play Disruption.
And Nevix might be just assigned to constantly marking Beetle here. Just making sure that Dredro is constantly free to pump out these heals on the Luna. So no, already the Metallic Bulwark has been used here to allow Leaf to go on forward. Look at that full pocket going onto Leaf as well. You can see the Ultron drone sitting on him over there. And Leaf is going to be in a position to really shut down these squids rather quickly, which is going to nerf the ult generation that Spark is going to have to try and work with here.
Yeah, but Beetle's not getting to do anything. Like you said, he's being full marked by Nevix, which means that Sparker is free to keep up the pressure on all of the flyers in the sky. And Fire is also being able to zone out two of the strategists coming through from Pep's back line. And that is going to result in both of the Vanguards going down.
All right, Leaf feeling the pressure here, gets both a Guardian Shield and the bubble. However, the grab from Fincy is all that you need. Having to fly low now is hardest just to try and stop that point going over too quickly.
Larry is going to have Eternal Bond, but for Peps, that's potentially going to have to just be used to give them a free passage into that fight.
Nice.
They don't have a Punisher to be able to just play right in the midst of it. And Aura Stealer is actually going to be swapping on over to the Mantis, so now we have even more damage boost potential. We forgo the shield, but the 12% damage boost can mean that Leaf and Hardest's damage output just spiked drastically.
Well, it's certainly going to be a great way to try and make this Rage of Ultron all the more deadly. Hardest opens up with it, and Cypher is going to be answering out, with a copy onto the Eternal Bond, actually stealing away the enemy's Cloak and Dagger. We know that Virtus Pro love to play it. It's going to be Larry in the back. Dredro could be in trouble here if he get hit with the Terror Cape, and indeed Larry quick to follow up on that one. But now Sparker on the off angle notices that the unfortunate movement of the point has separated Team Peps from their strategist ultimate. The healing won't be delivered as easily, but Flyers can always just roam up into it if they're so inclined. Team Peps get a quick flip.
Yeah, get a quick flip as Virtus Pro didn't want to commit the Horn of Progress given the fact that Dredro went down, so no damage boost, one-shot potential. DRP is going to be able to hold the space with Meteor M and then throws it directly at the Hulk, and Nevix is taken out of his ultimate form and into the banner, into the respawn room now, as Virtus Pro have not been able to find the damage to take Peps down.
Yeah, Fi really feeling the heat as Leaf starts to erode the space that Human Torch was counting upon. And for now, Virtus Pro is back to a drawing board until Nevix returns.
Finzi should be able to open this up with Psionic Seduction, but Peps should be able to hide behind the Strange Shield as well as the distance. There's an awful lot of really good terrain that you can use. The pillars around the point itself to dodge the LOS of that Emma ultimate, but it really is going to be up to Sparker to coordinate the fate of both worlds. This Horn of Proteus needs to be huge.
Supernova popped out here by Leaf, sieging that backline. Has to worry about the Sonic Seduction. Good rotation around the pillar, using that physical cover to the best of their ability, and DRP also avoids being seduced in their own right. Metallic Bulwark going the way of Leaf, and now the Rage of Ultron will be added into the mix. Finty needs to retreat into the midst of all of this.
What up,
Beetle finds nothing but Nevix when it comes to the Iron Magnet, but still the focus fire is good. Even within all of that, Aura Stealer, a victim of a damage boosted Horn of Proteus, but Larry managed to escape utilizing their own Eternal Bond. Now it's Saipe's turn to roll on forward. The dance floor has been lit on up. Team Peps are in a fantastic position, but Spark's trying to turn it around here. The Monstro spawn, they've found the mechanical terror of Ultron themselves, and Virtus Pro are back in control.
Yeah, DRP couldn't commit Meteor M, knowing that fight is so close to Supernova, and that flip does come through. However, there's still two fights for Virtus Pro now to take. One more and they'll put them equal to Peps' percentage, so there is a little bit of downtime for Peps to potentially build up a win condition. Another Soul Resurgence paired up with that Rage of Ultron, potentially the Eternal Bond, but they have to be so careful about how they approach the point this time around, because that poke coming on through from both the Torch and that Namor is absolutely brutal.
All right, the poke just got even more brutal. However, great eating up of the flame tornadoes by DRP. Oh, what a block coming through in midair by Sparker.
It was a great block.
The blessing of the deep to eat up all of that danger coming through from a Meteor M. I believe it's a constant grab here from Nevix onto the Ultron. Manages to survive and get back up into the air. Looking down over the battlefield, sees that Beetle is in trouble, has the Eye of Agamotto, but no chance to pop it. Grabbed by the throat by Fincy, and the remainder of the bears just look up at this totem macabre, and they claw at it, sink their teeth in. Spark is getting even more Larry. Oh no, the Eternal Bond interrupted by Fincy. Too much charge, couldn't deal with the damage. A little squid, a Monstro is going to just try and third party hardest here. Drijo finishes with 2 frags to their own name, and Virtus Pro bring it back.
Yeah, it's rough when Peps lose those Vanguards, lose those anchor heroes on that point. They have
We got
to
a lot of
try and
people in here
overcome
today.
it
What's up,
with
everybody?
the sustainability that free strategists can bring your team, but unfortunately without those ultimates, they just don't have the heals per second to stand up to the amount of spam that is coming on through from Virtus Pro, and whoever steps up to try and bounce the point off of their fallen teammates gets immediately ripped off of the ground and held by the throat by that Emma Frost, and Carbon Crush is truly a brutal cooldown.
Holds up.
There's not a lot to talk about when it comes to domination, because it's really just like slop fights.
Gift of flesh.
Team Peps, though, they did make it close. If they win the first fight, it becomes infinitely easier for them to hold the space with the amount of damage that they have over Virtus Pro.
Usually everybody hopping in here.
Having both the Mantis and the Cloak and Dagger and the Ultron, you do have an awful lot of sustain, but the spam damage that you can do, that Virtus Pro have to pick themselves through, is definitely a lethal combination. But speaking about lethal combos, we're going to have Horn of Proteus, potentially for a damage boost, but what they're not going to have is Human Torch is, well, Fi just got extinguished.
Rare to achieve that kind of mugging on a character as nimble as the Human Torch. Great heads-up play there from Team Peps, and that's going to give them early control over this mission area. Shouldn't take too long for Fi to get back, and seems the calls come from Nevix, so they are going to try and play this one out, investing the regeneration domain as well. Into the back with the World Breaker Hulk, and oh boy, the world of France is in great danger right now. A Soul Resurgence coming through. It's plenty of healing for all of them. Meager DPS that the Hulk can put out.
What's up, everybody? What's up? What's up? What's up?
Through the point, capped indeed by Virtus Pro. Great way to try and shut down DRP in the midst of all of this, making sure those metallic bulwarks can't be thrown elsewhere. Sentience grasped by Fincy, rolling in with the Carbon Crush. Larry's going to be the main victim of that one. And now with a Supernova declared by Leaf, it's a quick disengage. Really wants Strijo in the back. Hammer healing come on through. You can see the Cyber cast the Doppelganger.
A little too deep there, buddy.
Little too deep. To make sure that healing can come through quickly. The Rage of Ultron is yet another attempt. Oh, Beetle! No! It was the Flame Prison in the end, the tick that took him down. You didn't think about how hot it was going to get under the collar.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. VP
What is up, everybody?
really wanted that point cap. They
Appreciate everyone stopping by.
They can't full regroup and re-push into space when Peps have that much damage potential above their heads. Hardest now is actually going to swap over towards the Winter Soldier, something that we expected to see coming on through, as Nevix has been a thorn in this team's side right now. If that Hulk tries to commit and take down the back line, Bionic Hook is going to be there to grab him back into the mix, as it does mean that Nevix bites off a little bit more than he can chew, but Horn of Proteus tries to
Do me a favor, if you watch on YouTube, hit the like button on the stream, helps me out quite a bit.
Yeah, Nevix being down for regen domain as well. That fight might have been cooked from the start. Wishful thinking from Sparker, honestly. Didn't even have the combination with the Fate of Both Worlds to get the damage boost. So Virtus Pro likely wishing they had that one back.
Well, Pep's still behind on point percentage, and they had to swap that composition. So now they don't have the damage boost over Virtus Pro. Gone is the Ultron, gone is the Mantis. They've still got the Cloak and Dagger for Larry. They've also got Invisible Boundary coming on through from Aura Stealer. And there's nothing really from Virtus Pro that can try and challenge it. So it's a Supernova to start things off so they can just isolate DRP.
Oh, DRP too far up, didn't have any LOS from the strategist. The healing couldn't be delivered. And now these Flame Tornadoes so difficult to deal with. Fire just got to dash away quickly, even inside the invisible boundary. Leaf never stood a chance. Weak to the fire type damage as a grass type player, that much is certain to see. An attempt to try and chase down Beetle. That pesky Captain America constantly the charge.
Pretty good.
Banner. And well,
they're sending Nevix to constantly be on top of the Captain America or the Hulk, so it's really good.
Pro flip the point.
Oh, and they're looking for more hardest with silence, so he couldn't use the Kraken impact in that fight due to the Psionic Seduction.
24/7 running around.
Virtus.pro still having so many of their ultimates. They can use the Horn of Proteus to put a stop to the movements that the Winter Soldier can try and find. If they think that they can use Kraken impact to find the resets off of Cypher's doppelgangers, this is going to be a really rough fight, given the fact that VP have point anchor with the Hulk and the high ground.
Nice.
And again, Horn of Proteus, but again, Larry's able to dodge.
Once more, no damage boost. Just wishful thinking.
Oh my god.
Damage boost works a little bit better. I believe Larry was held aloft. The member trident of the
Wait, maybe Namor is insane.
Boost hits the headshot, grabs the frag, and now guess what? Hardest is in danger. Coming down with a Kraken impact. There's plenty of extra HP though. It's given over by the Winter. Oh, he's outside the invisible boundary. Somebody save this man. Nevix is angry, and it seems that the healing is at least being delivered when it's needed the most.
Nice.
Now it's Fire's turn, raining down from on high with the Firestorm. Leaf is trying to get involved and get
Kicked him in the face.
up against their counterpart, grabbed on in by the Winter Soldier, bionic hook of all time, and it might well have saved Team Pepsi on Hell's Heaven. Still Fincy
Big
believes
ults.
that there's a chance, gets himself a double mind control both onto DRP and one of the backliners. Never trying to follow it up as we move on here.
Not that big of an ult, I
Charge on
guess.
the beam means that Fincy is the dangerous customer to try and deal with, and even more so when the Carbon Crush gets involved. DRP ascends to the skies, a Meteor M that cannot be saved for a later map, but does not find any.
Oh, this guy's on Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, and now maybe a pull-off could be in danger.
This guy's a
Moving over, still
freak.
has that E. Someone falling off the map could be everything you know, but it could be coming on through. Nothing grabbed at the moment, though, in the Eternal Bond keeps
Why is this guy on
all of
Spider-Man?
Team Pep sustained through this. Larry's in major danger, still manages to stay within their own AoE. Fire's got yet another chance to try and play with. You don't want to grab the Invisible Woman. You're hoping for DRP. You're hoping
Oh
for
my
Vanguard.
god, he got him.
DRP gets found down into the abyss of molten lava, and the iron
No.
content is not high enough to allow him to float once again, encased in obsidian, like the dreams
Bro
of
got
Team
him.
Peps, held aloft only by the hopes that Captain
This is
America
like freak
brings to the
behavior.
fore. Aura Stealer just gets wombo combo, true 999 hit combo from the Hulk. It's like Marvel over here. We're fighting games now as Virtus.pro claim Hell's Heaven.
Virtus.pro, the target focus, they have so much respect for what
Guy went on
Hardest can do in those
Spider-Man.
overtimes. But honestly, it all started with that first fight. Even though they're down 5 right off of that strange TP, they understand they can't play into a retake situation. They're going to be permanently down a player, permanently missing ultimate charge in comparison to what Peps are able to do, because Peps have such a damage-loaded composition. And so they invest. They've got the one-sided Loki.
What's up, everybody?
Out jumps Nevix onto the point in Hulk form.
Losers
so he
out,
can land
winners
in the regen
goes on.
domain. And then he's one jump away from the backline, and then it's so smart. Sparker
Magic drops on
opens up
Twitch if
with
you want the
Horn
Magic skin.
Proteus onto the backline, which means that Larry can't use Dark Teleportation. It might provide an iframe for the Cloak and Dagger, but it's a movement ability. So the Earthbound means that the Cloak and Dagger can't save themselves. That forces Aura Stealer's hand into burning the Soul Resurgence. But all of a sudden, you've got a World Breaker Hulk in front of you, juggling you off of the point. Everyone from Peps had to pull back from anchoring, even though they were one person down. Could have potentially taken the fight with a brawl for control of that point cap first. They all have to pull back and play peel for that backline, and that allows VP the first point of control. And from there, it's just a matter of controlling the space. Every time Peps try and make another approach, it's Eternal Bond, but there's no follow through. There's no Punisher to play off of the back of it. And Sparker, even though he doesn't find a hit onto Larry with the Horn of Proteuses, he still manages to make Peps pause before they hit W to capitalize off of the space that their Cloak and Dagger provided. And that's immediately followed up by the Carbon Crush coming on through, grabbing Larry and just holding him aloft so that the follow-up damage is there immediately from the Namor. This was so smartly thought out from the side of Virtus.pro. From the beginning, when they saw the advanced pick and bans, they knew Cloak and Dagger could be a problem, but Cloak and Dagger's only a problem if you've got the follow-through, and there was never any follow-through.
Plans within plans to Virtus.pro. It seems that after the loss yesterday to Berber Patapim, the homework has been done. And indeed, it's been a very high learning experience here at Marvel Rivals Ignite for Virtus.pro, previously undefeated and now defeated twice. But some would say when a team lose, that gives them all the more opportunity to come back stronger. You don't learn as much when you're constantly winning, but when you start to see your weaknesses, you can start addressing them a lot more easily. We'll have to see if Team Peps have got any more secrets up their sleeve to get one over on Virtus.pro after this break.
Judge, jury, executioner!
So we keep people entertained. Good question. Two minutes. If you're new here and don't know me, means DuckFilms. I do Marvel Rivals educational content, coaching, all that jazz, update videos, pretty much everything Marvel Rivals. So if you want to check it out, make sure to subscribe. It really helps out. Channel, make sure to like the video as well. We have a video getting released at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time on Vanguards, so make sure to check it out when it comes out. Post the link. Basically what I do when it comes to watch parties is I try to break everything down, so if you're new to Marvel Rivals, you maybe get a better understanding of what's going on. That's why the stream volume isn't as loud as my mic, because I like to break things down to explain things. Basically to tell you why pros are making what decisions, things like that. Hopes that maybe be a little bit helpful to you and you can apply it to your own games. When it comes to domination, there's really nothing to talk about except for like team compositions, because I feel that domination in Marvel Rivals is pretty RNG with how things turn out most of the time. My take. The Virtus Pro is up 1-0, so that means Team Peps gets the pick, the map, and whether to attack or defend. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, I appreciate everyone stopping by. It means a lot. Greatly helps out the channel. Greatly helps me out in general. So thank you to all of you.
Vincey screams, holding Larry to the moon. Give me Emma Frost, and his life is yours. Dominant performance on Hell's Heaven from Virtus Pro. As
the Virtus Pro looked very good.
Reeling by an Emma Frost that was just carbon crushing him.
Yeah, and I mean, Hardest maybe left a little bit motion sick as well from all of the juggles that he was put under by Nevix every single time.
If you're looking for the magic drops, make sure to check out my Twitch. Or otherwise you can, watch on YouTube. Either or is fine. But if you do want the drops for magic, make sure to head over to the Twitch. And I appreciate everyone stopping by.
2 steps ahead of the competition currently, and they're able to do so because they got the Loki. I feel like Peps are definitely not going to allow the Loki cleanly through. As we were talking in between the break, there are 2 fights there. VP get first cap on Super Soldier Factory, coming on out with a regen domain save so that they can anchor point, and then that overtime fight as well, where it's like, surely Peps are just going to be able to clean this one up, and then no, you have to worry about Finzi coming in for that psionic seduction. It's because Saipei came on out with that regen domain for the Emma to play right in the middle.
Okay, so we are on Spider Islands. Virtus Pros on the fence with Team Peps on attack.
Team Peps, for those of you who haven't been keeping track of the ancient lore,
see a Mag ban and a Emma ban.
In an official tournament, and they lost it.
So we're probably gonna see a Mag save. We're probably gonna get a strategist ban, probably, unless they're targeting a Vanguard Loki ban. Then we're gonna get an Emma save more than likely here.
Oh, they're gonna get one-sided Loki again.
That's typically how it goes.
Maybe they will. Seems like they could be prioritized. I reckon they go for the Emma save
here.
Yep,
Emma save.
Maybe there's a world where
we should be looking at a strategist band on the side of Team Peps. Or maybe a duelist. Yeah, we'll go for the Psylocke. That's fine. Sparker's good on Psylocke. Then we should probably be looking at a strategist.
Yeah, I mean, mean, you have to worry about
We get
your
the Loki
backline
ban.
being hit by a Psylocke and a Captain America. You also have to worry
We get the
about
Loki
your
ban, the
flies
mirror. We
being
get the
hit
Punisher
by
ban, so
Psylocke,
this is
and if they
potential
want
that
to
we
roll
might be
leaf
playing
off
goats on the
of
side of
something
Team
like that
Virtus
storm with
Pro
Mantis on the Punisher, which
because they have the
unfortunately
Punisher
hasn't been here, but there's that Loki
ban.
that we were anticipating
We're looking
to
at the
pivot to
Torch
become
save, so
Captain
we're going to be
America.
looking
Still
at
gonna be up, though,
Torch,
the side of both VP
possibly a
and Caps, as
possible
I's
res
going to be
comp
looking to
at the
secure his
start of the
human
match for
torch.
Team Virtus Pro.
This might try and force out an Invisible Woman ban from a side of Team Peps as the last.
Go for the Atom ban.
Gonna go for the Atom again,
I like
potentially.
this.
I mean,
I think this is
I'm
fine.
a known Adam hater. I think Res Comp is overhyped in EMEA.
Bro says res comp is overhyped. No, it's not.
just res comp that
Res
you have
comp
to
is
worry
very
about,
good.
It's the overtime fights, right? Where a lot of teams Berber actually use this against
I think this is
VP
good. A good ban.
yesterday,
Because they
on
like
mid-turn,
res
where
comp,
there's
so
an
and we get the
overtime
Luna
fight
save, which
approaching
is
up
very
there, and
good.
they just
You
slap
might
in an
do
Adam so that they can have the self-res,
yeah,
the
Cloak and
soul
Dagger.
bond if they're
C&D is
behind in
good.
terms of ultimate
Ban
charge,
here.
and you've immediately got a defensive
But I still
option
feel like
against
we're
an
going to be
aggressive
playing
ultimate.
goats on the side of
Coming on
Virtus
through
Pro,
from
so
something like,
probably
say,
3
a
tanks.
duelist, as it looks like VP will actually utilize that last ban system slot
I
to take
have a
away
feeling.
the cloak and dagger from the side of Peps, but they have been able to
Not.
secure the Lunar Snow themselves. And since VP don't get the Loki, there is no opportunity to copy that fate of both worlds.
Yeah.
Please.
No access to a Terror Cape. No access
Please.
to the
No.
Eternal Bond as well on the other side. Going to be entirely
Boo.
unmirrored. As we are going to see, Nevis is going to pick
What?
up the cap here. It wasn't banned out this time. Nevis
Wait.
is a fantastic cap player. But I feel like Nevis is getting a lot of value out of the Hulk. Has
Yo, what's up,
crazy
everybody?
mechanics
Appreciate everyone
on the
stepping in.
ultimate.
Yeah, but the Hulk is very, very
Everyone
strong.
is
However,
having
can be
a good
somewhat
day.
of a
Who are
pincushion,
you cheering
especially
for?
if Invis
Team
is
Peps
still
or
in play,
Team
you jump
VP?
in and
Let me know in the
waits for you to
message.
try to jump out,
Let me know in the
and
chat
boom,
what you
force
guys think.
physics, all of a sudden, you're right back at that Invis woman's feet, and
Are you
the
a
entire
Peps
rest of the
fan
team
or a
is just
VP
there
fan? Let me know.
waiting to take you down and immediately
Let
get
me know, let me
so
know.
much ultimate charge. The Captain America is so much more of an annoyance because he still has that high level of mobility, but that opportunity to
Again, we do the
bounce
penny team up at
projectiles
the
back,
start so
including
that
whole
everybody on
ultimates
the
in
team
terms of
gets the
like Iron
50
Man maximum
HP
pulse
rather
all
than
year,
this
and
the
which we have
rocket.
seen actually come on
The rocket by
board in
himself
Ignite
gives
is
25 HP, so
invaluable.
doing the team up with Penny at the start is very good.
Unbelievable stuff.
So on the side of
I'd love
Virtus
to see
Pro,
it
it looks like
happen.
we are doing the
Once
Human
again,
Torch.
here
Human
at
Torch is
Marvel
still very
Rivals
good,
at
even though he got slightly
Fire Course
nerfed.
is gonna be
And we're
sitting
running
up
the
in
team
the
up with
air.
Hulk
It's not
Namor.
gonna be having that additional
Namor got some
sustainability
pretty
from
major
Virtus
nerfs.
Pro.
Isn't
Virtus
the
Pro
best
opted
character in the
into
game currently, but we
Luna
are seeing him played more and more in
Echo
pro play.
Virtus Pro
Because of
not
certain
going for a
bans.
triple Vanguard strategy, so not taking 3 fights minimum on this one. We're not even
I'm
seeing the
surprised
shots come through at
VP
the
didn't go
moment,
for
but what we are
goats, which
seeing
is three
a
vanguards.
composition
Boom.
coming on out. They'll be able to
Side
deal
of Team
with the
Peps,
Psylocke
looks like we
and
got the
Torch
Invis,
off of just
Luna,
the pressure
we
coming
have
on
Mag,
from
Captain
them.
America,
At the same
we
time,
have
being able
the
to dispatch
Star-Lord,
Hero
which
if
is
he
very
tries to
good
ultimate
into
that backline.
both
Yeah, DRP could be in major danger
Human
here as
Torch,
well.
Hulk,
Carbon Crush
Namor,
and Terror Cape
very
in
good.
tandem.
Then we have Human Torch on the side of Team Peps as well, so we got a mirror.
Constantly displacing these crosshairs. Oh, in danger right here. Leaf has to disengage away using that hot
In terms
drop
of
down to the
ults,
back. 100 charge for Fincy. This is where
we
you
almost have
really
Namor,
start to fear for Team
we almost have
Peps. You need to
C&D,
start
so we
winning
can
these fights
probably
early
tempo
before
out,
Fincy
but we
can get
should
crushed
be
up.
saving it to mirror Invis.
Proteus off of all of the damage that he's been able to do, the freezes allow from the absolute zero onto Beetle. There's Horn of Proteus. And Team Peps are
We should have
forced to
probably
take a
saved
big
the
step
Horn.
backwards.
We
It's
probably
got
should have
to be
saved
committed
Namor
to
ult
both
for
worlds that allows Hardest to finally take
Luna
Sparky
ult.
down.
Gone for a
And
damage boost,
Generous
Luna.
Eternal Bond unfortunately was not in time to save the Nemo.
Outside of the Eternal Bond, yeah. So the name could not be
Good
saved.
trade on the side of VP.
DPS for now. Vidula's trying to get it done. Beetle forced to bring up their shield. It's not going to last for too long. That's multiple players going to be mind controlled. Hardest a little bit shy of the AoE. DRP gets two.
Good mag ult to cover.
Of the Meteor M. It's a full in investment for the side of Team Peps. But once everything's cleared
Good
out,
Invis
it
ult.
could be Leaf who makes it work with Supernova.
We're mirroring the
Top five
Supernovas.
is gonna be able to answer it as well. Drieger's already been taken down as Beetle in the back.
Trying to get some
Managing to smash them
space
away
back.
with his slimy carapace. Leaf going up to try and get that mid-air fight against their counterpart. Thigh is keen to get even more here. Larry's seen in the back. The Worldbreaker Hulk is
Very
over,
good stall by the
returning to
Hulk.
cart for his solemn duty of stopping the objective
The
from
quality
moving
of
into
it
this
looks terrible.
nasty little zone.
It's
Leaf
because,
has Fire going exactly where he wants him, but in this unsupported battle over here, the two
Marvel
players
Rivals
it's
doesn't know how
Hardest
to
who comes in
really
to strike the
fix the
final
bit rate. straight.
Virtus Pro running low on options. Maybe Fi comes back here on the Doctor Strange. Could swap over for a quick portal, but damage could have already been done though.
I don't know if we TP here.
What a great read on the force physics.
Strange
No,
is
no
gonna
TP,
be
no
coming
TP.
back potentially, but no, they think better off of it. And unfortunately, they're not going to be able to.
FlyQuest isn't, or FlyQuest VP isn't looking too good right now. They may need to do a comp swap. I think Star-Lord was definitely the right call on the side of Team Peps. It's doing insane work. Even though it doesn't look like it's doing insane work, it really is. The pressure.
Reset needs to come through immediately if the defense want any opportunity to hold.
Yeah, coming down to just having 2 phases to
Looks like because of that, we are mirroring the Star-Lord on the side of VP. Parker.
The first one, seeing that eternal bond and the fate of both worlds come out before the flame tornadoes.
They've got so many options too.
Yeah, Team Peps like pretty much has 6 ults.
Because DRP has the meteor amp to absorb all of the galactic legend that Sparker is going to be able to output, but no, they exhausted. They tried to take down Trudeau in.
How are you out of position?
They managed to find the pick, but now that galactic legend and the supernova from Virtus Pro is looking a little bit more dangerous.
Goodness, no ult pop, cap ult popped. Mirror Capel is popped.
Everyone's got plenty of health to try and work, but maybe not ideal for Sparker. Can't get down into the AoE. 22 pieces of HP remaining, and it's a blast barrage ascending to the skies, which makes Sparker fall down like an Icarus from a flight too
Jumping on the
high.
healers, very good.
It's going to be the backline
Might go down.
under siege. This needs to be stopped somehow. The Terror Cape could be the insurance policy that Virtus Pro have been waiting for.
Yeah, I don't know.
Getting rid of Beetle, yes, but traded out for Fincy means that Nevis
VP is looking very
desperately needs
scattered
all the
right now.
pocketing the strategist can provide.
Oh, he's got to be careful.
I think they should have gotten goats on the first point. Seems like. It's so hindsight now when you think about it.
As quick as they possibly can. Absolute Zero and Iceheart's all coming on through from Saipe just to get a little.
They're stabilizing all right.
By playing Peel, they've been able to carbon crush out Beetle, but the Captain America still makes it back to his team.
Well, that metallic bulwark though, not going to be available for DRP for another 10 seconds or so. Yes, another
when the cap gets grabbed by Emma, she has to instantly get eliminated. Or he has to instantly get eliminated. We're looking for a Cloak and Dagger Temple ults, which we do. Yep, no ults popped. Good. That's very good on the side of Team Peps. We're going to be coming back with a ton of ults. We're only going to have
space to safely disengage because you know that
1, 2, 3, maybe 4 ults on the side of VP, and we're gonna be coming back with a lot on the side of Team Peps. So this next fight should be in favor of Team Peps based on ult percentage. Sparker's probably dead, yeah. I would have liked if the Mag went for the Luna instead, but he still got a very good value because we were inside of an invisible ult. Nevix is trying to keep his supports alive, very smart, very good. We swap off of Star-Lord to Punisher for Sparker, and they managed to get the cap on the side of Team Peps.
Forward, a Terror Cape makes Hardest go elsewhere for a moment, utilizing the map awareness to get into cover, even while blinded. It's Streedro's turn. The Eternal Bond claims all of this space, and Sparks return on the Punisher. We finally see Virtus Pro bring out one of the most high meta picks at the moment to help out with that mid-air battle that's constantly been going the way of Leaf, who's had to swap over now onto the Doctor Strange for a last-second contest.
Yeah, it's gonna be last fight, 4 seconds remaining. It's gonna be all up to the Strange, but he gets body blocked!
Ooh.
And he doesn't get through! Yep. Diamond form into spinning kick comes out from Virtus Pro, and Peps are denied the touch.
Bro did not touch.
That is where the payload finishes. I wondered when we would see that Punisher come out as Virtus Pro. They try to have the matchup, you know, Torch versus Torch, but the Torch versus Torch is unfairly sided to Team Peps, given the fact that Aura Steel is on the Invis, so Leaf always has the upper hand in terms of that armor that he can utilize off of the team up. And even the Star-Lord versus Star-Lord was a 2 versus 1, and DRP is always there every single time.
I wouldn't be surprised if Goats came out on the side of Team Peps. I feel like they need to go Goats here.
Let's just put him on the Punisher and pull out the shotgun.
Yeah, the Guardian Shield doesn't last long.
We are doing some sort of it. We're doing
that Punisher has now, and
Cap, Magneto, Human Torch, Mantis, Ultron, Luna. So we're kind of... Ultron's going to be placing his buffs on the Mag, probably. Maybe the other healer. Luna is going to be placing the Snowflake on the Ultron. Then Ultron's putting his drone on top of the Human Torch. Mantis is going to be damage boosting the Human Torch, more than likely to do a ton of damage. I'm surprised they're not playing Invis though in this scenario to have the team up for the Torch to keep them alive. I think this is also very good. It's also a very good, and we're kind of getting some sort of a mirror on Virtus Pro as well. Instead of Mantis, we have C&D, which is also a very good strategist right now. It's only good because of the current ban system. DRP is already down. That's a huge pick. I think we should have just gone goats here.
Keep your eyes on that top bar here. Looks like DRP actually has got the call, but we're not going to.
What's up, everybody? Appreciate everybody stopping in. If you're new here, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, really helps out the channel over on YouTube, or if you're watching on Twitch, appreciate a follow. Yeah, we're all dying on point, so we can TP as 6 back, so we get 2 fights now. Just waiting for everybody to respawn.
Ready to go. This is all about training that time back, and you certainly need to when you've only got
Here's the
one
TP.
Most of the progress here on second. Hardest rolls on out, instantly uses the blaster barrage to give damage to all and sundry. As fire
Bro's already back at the respawn screen. Good Luna ult. It's unfortunate that we lost one before we got it.
With the Rage of Ultron, it's going to be a lot of damage, yes, but inside the Luna healing at this point is mostly cosmetic, and so Hardest able to free.
Get a C&D ult from Virtus Pro. We have Invis ult on the side of Team Peps. Renova goes out. Invis might be cooked here. Ooh. Barker finds the torch. Oh my god.
The freedom charge gives all that's needed. Hardest just about managed to get into cover, staying away from Fincy. Does not wish to swipe right on.
Good Emma grab.
But Larry's got no such sensibilities. She's so cute though. How could I resist?
The stall though. They're still stalling. They're losing the fight, but they are stalling, and that's exactly what Peps needed to do.
Pretty good stall.
One more fight before they can cap out A, and it's going to be off of the back of Rage of Ultron and spam damage. Off of all of these chokehold approaches that Peps are going to be forced to try and approach through. DRP also has that Eye of Agamotto, and Virtus Pro lacking that Invis woman don't have the means of mitigating it. It's going to have to be a block from Finzi coming on through, or potentially just taking the Strange down.
Yeah, oh, Saipe with the Ice Arts grabs 2 final blows, all for themselves.
Very good grab.
He was really hoping to use the Eye of Agamotto in this fight as well, but was late to arrive, because this means that it's still going to be difficult to swap over onto the Mag. Have to give up 50% ult charge. Seems like that's going to be a necessary sacrifice. Yeah, DRP gives it up.
Yeah, I mean, at least you are going to be close to that Meteor M so that you can try and match pace with Vi when he hits the Supernova. But Virtus Pro definitely have momentum on their side currently. Rage of Ultron to be able to push ahead and buy a little bit of time potentially too for Dridro to build that Eternal Bond to match up to the damage that Leaf can output on the Supernova.
Navik's knocked back 4 now. Doesn't want to push their luck. Instead, going to be marking Beetle in the back again. The Ice Arts once more from
Another Supernova coming out of Leaf.
Difficult for Beetle to deal with. The Rage of Ultron. It's putting damage down range. At the moment, it's more like suppressing fire onto the strategist. It actually forces out the answer here in the form of the Fate of Both Worlds. Virtus Pro probably just going to disengage from this one, but no, they actually strike on back with the Eternal Bond. They figured out.
I'm surprised they forced Luna ult there with Ultron ult. Doesn't really make sense.
Damage is so brutal onto the backline. The invisible boundary has to be used just to make sure the strategists don't fall down to the attentions Nevix is giving. Hardest comes in once more with the Galactic Legend. Cannot move away from a Sonic seduction. The brain gets fried. The worms are there. And DRP is fertilizing the soil with the bodies of their victims. Unbelievable grab in the air onto Sparker. But now they find themselves alone.
Very good.
Friends, the Emma Frost takes out their co-mutant with their
Yeah, the quality of the stream, I have no control over it, unfortunately, if you're watching. It's what Marvel Rivals, their stream looks like.
There's still a Fate of Both Worlds to play with.
The staggers are coming on for Beetle's Freedom Charge baits out Saipe to have to match sustainability with the fate of both worlds, so Virtus.pro are at least down that ultimate in the fight that comes next, but Team Peps are so many players down because of those staggers.
I will say it's kind of hard to play against VP because they can pretty much play anything, so it's kind of hard to ban them out. I understand why the Peps banned Adam. This is hard.
Larry's at 95%. Everything comes down to Larry. And look at the chase out coming here from Beetle. Fincy picked off by the Human Torch. The disengage was pretty strong. Virtus.pro, they had to give up Fincy in order to make sure that their backline survived.
Like Peps banned Adam.
1 minute 30 remains.
Yeah, but Peps had to sacrifice Fate of Both Worlds to make sure that they got through that portal safely without losing a play, since they had no information of Virtus.pro's positions. And now they don't have it for the Rage of Ultron. As Virtus.pro try and answer back, it's up to Hardest with the Galactic Legend to keep the Ultron in check, but the Aether's Aegis comes on through from Finzy, and Spark is able to survive the attention.
Ah, the Aegis, it was just perfect there from Fincy. Now Druja can move on forward, unbothered, unconcerned about a Meteor M because the RPs had to go over once again. Oh, Fi, what a landing, a hot drop onto Larry.
Nice.
And now raining down from above it all once again. The Stormfront has been opened. Open the gates of hell and stare into Avernus, because it's fire and flames that carry Virtus.pro to a victory.
Virtus.pro just so good at suppressing. Just every single time when you called the suppressing fire,
Very good by Virtus.pro.
that Rage of Ultron was used to entirely suppress the Supernova from Team Peps, and Team Peps were trying to use that Supernova to stabilize, to give themselves a little bit of breathing room, to set their players up in positions where it's harder for Virtus.pro to pick them off as the fight begins, and potentially they can use spam pressure too to force VP's
What's up, everybody?
Everyone's
Everyone's stopping in.
vital cooldowns before the fight properly kicks off, and unfortunately they never got the opportunity to do so. Virtus.pro did such a good job of keeping Peps constantly uncomfortable. Every single time they had to come back into a fight, they were committing resources right into the rip, and Virtus.pro properly understood, if we just disengage and make sure that all of our
Yeah,
players
winner
survive the
moves
exit,
up,
we can
loser is
immediately turn
eliminated
back
from
in
the
again.
tournament, unfortunately.
I mean, it's time for the Saipe Glaze Power Hour once again. I think one of the main differences in that particular map was in the Luna versus Luna, Larry walked away with 0 final hits. For Saipe, 9, almost as much as anyone else on the team, really contributing to finding those frags and utilizing how much damage Luna
Very good,
can
very
do
good.
when you aren't having the full uptime healing.
Everybody's
Of
doing
course,
well.
For Larry, there was always that demand to just pocket the RP because you need him to be full HP all the time, or they're just going to get Fincy'd on.
Yeah, and you have to worry about Finzy permanently. Every single time that shield is going to be dropping, your Vanguards are going to be taking so much damage. Even Saipe here coming on through, utilizing the fact that everyone from Peps, because they'd exhausted the Strange Portal on the second fight of first, rather than utilizing it for the recontest of the last, they're all coming through from chokes. So Saipe perfectly times utilizing that Ice Odds, which has a Pierce ability. So all of the players from Peps who were stacked up, they're all being hit by that Luna damage coming on through, and it was just that awareness of when to utilize it aggressively or when to potentially utilize it defensively really
Very
allowed
nice.
Saipe to get the better of the Luna Mirror.
Yeah, it's still such a wide hitbox, that Ice Arts as well, but it's very good for for hitting a very evasive Captain America. When he's in the middle of his run and his fearless leap, you know, he could be a little bit of a nuisance to try and hit. Fincy also essentially 100% charge all the time, just an absolute fire hose of damage with that Sonic Beam. Was so difficult
Very
to deal
true.
with. I'd love to see a pivot to trying to shut down Fincy's Emma Frost from Peps, 'cause it seems like it's been a real difference maker so far. We'll have to see if Peps take the advice after this break.
I agree with that. Yep. You guys don't know who I am or you're new here? DuckFilms. I make educational content on Marvel Rivals. Whether it's coaching, guides, updates, anything Marvel Rivals related, that's what I do. So make sure to subscribe if you're new, if you want to keep seeing content, want to see live streams or whatever. But also like the stream, greatly helps out me out as well. Appreciate it. And if you're looking for the magic drops, you can head over to my Twitch. I have the magic drops there as well. You might be wondering, why should I watch this stream instead of the main stream? Well, I break things down, explain why the pros are making certain decisions, things like that. So check it out. Alright. Very good adaptation by the Virtus Pro boys. At first they didn't look too good. Like they fixed everything up. Yep, best of fives are long. Yeah, they are.
Team Peps facing down the barrel here at Marvel Rivals Ignite EMEA Playoffs Day 3. We're in yet another elimination match. And as surprised as we are to see Virtus Pro in the lower bracket, their performance thus far is far from surprising.
Yeah, I mean, it would not be surprising, I think, for both of us if we see a pivot towards, instead of insta-banning out the Magneto so that DRP can get one-sided mag, potentially taking the Emma out of things immediately, I think would definitely benefit Peps for all of the strategies that they're trying to play. Like, they're trying to put Beetle onto the Captain America, and for sometimes it is working, and then he immediately just gets grabbed out by Finzi and sent packing because Carbon Crush then leads into the CC roulette rotation of, oh, well, now you're getting hit by Absolute Zero coming on through from Tridro, and then if there's a Cloak and Dagger in play, that's going to lead into a Terra Cape too. So it's not a fun time for any component of a dive composition to go up against this Emma.
Yeah, Chain CC, never a truly fun endeavor. And you just get so much value out of the Emma, in particular on BP, just because Nevix is so flexible. Which means that Finzi can really lock in on just being really good about Emma. And
So it looks like we're on the map. Clintar.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go.
Let's get
See a Emma ban, Mag save.
They have been able to secure the Magneto, but it's likely that
So this is
Virtus
a very
also
good
be able to secure the Magneto.
setting
They might be able to
here.
secure one-sided low.
I'm gonna
However,
save Mag as well.
They have been banning that one out second every single time.
Yep, Mag
against
save. This
Peps,
is
so
a
it's
good
like
Punisher
they
map.
have
So
only
that's something to keep
access
in mind.
to the God of Mischief and the regen domains that come on through off of it.
Loki mirror band. That's good.
Yep,
That's
and,
good.
That's going to be yet another priority. Do not want Saipe playing the Loki. Of course, Saipe we've seen pop off previously on the
Punisher
Luna
ban
and the
is
match
good.
as well.
C&D ban.
Punisher ban could be everything. Oh, this is my Forza Luna save here.
That's
from
scary.
Pro, as they are threatening
Punisher
the,
save.
to run the gauntlet.
Of the strategist removal. Yeah, this is very targeted. Virtus Pro targeting
Luna save.
hardest with the Punisher removal, and there indeed is the Luna Snow save that we're anticipating.
That's fine, but like I wouldn't have mind a Luna save or a Punisher save there too.
Play the Luna with that Invis woman coming on through, and I mean Fi's going to be more than happy to play with an Invis if he wants to play the Torch as Team Peps. you constantly do have to worry if you go for a strategist heavy ban line that they are going to rewrite to a triple strategy lineup. So that was thinking about taking out the res comp from Sparker, but they decided actually to ban the Psylocke instead, given the fact that the Luna was able to make it through.
Yeah, realizing that with Luna in there, probably going to be a pivot to a double strategist, not going to be as much value potentially off the Adam. Now for the Protect.
Nice.
Keeping Beetle's ability to run
Here's
around
the
on
new
Captain
video
America
just
and
dropped,
everyone
so
getting
make
hit
sure
by
to check
that
it
Carbon
out.
Crush all the time, I think is a very valuable thing to add.
Yeah, but do Virtus Pro now go for the Cloak and Dagger so that Team Peps have a rough time of it in terms of the strategist lineup? Yes, you absolutely do. So no Eternal Bonds. They've been
So
perma-broken
Loki
for both
and
of these
CND
teams.
ban.
But we are going to be seeing Fi on that torch, potentially getting full.
Which isn't
block
terrible.
if they decide to go and put Sparker onto that Ultron. But then again, since they were able to secure the Luna and the Punisher, they might have the lead in terms of just damage that they can output consistently, since Peps unfortunately don't have access to Frank Castle. They've been barred from it entirely.
Yeah, and on symbiotic surface, Frank Castle is a monster. He gets
Punisher on this map is pretty gross.
Really tanks the approaches of a team that doesn't have that much shielding, and usually you're going to be looking at a single Vanguard able to shield that off as a Captain America, who's constantly trying to set up on an off angle while the remainder of the team goes for their commute.
True, but Magneto in play does make it a little bit harder for the Punisher to find value if the reaction check of Meteor M to Final Judgment timeline is correct, but that does often come down to a coin flip, and there is an awful lot in play as well nowadays that shuts down Meteor M to the point where it's just, you know, a little bonus factor if you are able to find a pick with the Comet hit.
So again, doing the Penny team up for the 50 extra health instead of D25 with just Rocket.
Oh, fine, just trying to set up already to make sure that there's that constant damage. A free ult charge, really, onto the double Vanguard, as it's going to be a cast of the portal. Nevix ready to answer this one. Drew Infinity already falling low, but this should be fairly easily answered with a triple strategist setup.
We have seen, however, teams like to just box themselves onto that high ground so that they can giga fast.
Bro, you aren't finals anymore? You aren't playing, I mean? Right now? No, not right now anymore. I haven't been playing it for a little bit, but I have it on my list to revisit the game. It's just I've been having too much fun on Marvel Rivals right now, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
really
I like.
So much damage here, but as well on top of it from the Luna.
I have been thinking about playing it just to like do another like touching the game again. But I mean, not too sure. I know they've been making some pretty good updates. But
oh, and that was the teleport approach as
I don't know.
coming on through from Peps, which means that you're going to be laid down a gauntlet of quite literal fire. The Ultron.
It's because they did updates a little too slow at the very beginning of the game that it kind of killed it for me. Like they took too long to do some updates. They did some changes that didn't make sense. Like at the very, very, very beginning of the game, so kind of hard for me to stay when I wasn't enjoying the game. I have it reinstalled though, so I definitely will be checking it out.
Needs to swap over back to a healing aura. Hardest has perfect timing to try and counter out this ultimate. The second that it goes away, Hardest is laying down the fire, but the freedom charge is still such an annoying pest that needs to be dealt with in the back.
So we get the Captain America ult from Team Peps with the Supernova from Leaf as well. This should be a easy cap for the side of Team Peps.
But Team Peps, they just utilize their entire ultimate bank.
Right?
Barry's down though.
Nice.
Still have their Luna up, but it is going to
very
be
good.
Finally able to take a, given the fact that they pushed Virtus.pro all the way back into parts of B with the ultimates that came on through. And Virtus.pro not going for the teleport route contest, going to be prioritizing.
Yeah, I've thought about playing with the finals again though.
To keep the flyers in check from Peps so that it doesn't bleed.
Not like playing it a ton, but just like revisiting it.
Off of the back of it. as Fi tries to utilize all of the damage. Sparker also utilizing the terrain to
I wouldn't mind the
his
like
hitbox
swapping off
off
Ultron
a
to
little bit of damage and then
something
fall
else.
back before it can be returned his way.
An evasive little mosquito flitting around in the air. Cypher can't afford to be picked early again.
It is pretty
And
shit.
there it is. The
But you
Rage
can
Ultron already
try.
trying to force out the strategist.
So long as it-
Larry was not inside.
Is it bad? Like, how bad is it?
Down the commute into the
How bad is it?
Utilizing that psionic vortex, and now Team Peps, they have decisions to make. Down 2, down 3. Surely I gotta call it here.
If you're calling it bad, then it's probably pretty bad.
Defensive against Team Peps when it comes to the pro fight, and that's before we even talk about the damage that Team Peps are going to be forced under to just get back to the payload. Virtus Pro with Nevix on this Captain America can make all of these approaches so.
What did they do that made it so
He's going to
bad?
have that Galactic Legend. Finns, if he uses the Meteor M, gives a free pass to leave Supernova, so he holds off on it, and instead it's Druidero and Fi
Good
utilizing
Luna
the
ult
ults at the same
to save
time.
Fi.
Defensive to outlive the Galactic Legend,
Fi.
and still
There we go.
have the
Fi
damage
full
boost
bomb.
after Supernova.
Damage boost onto the Meteor Ram as well. Still fails to find Pader at the moment. Fire rolling on forward. Fincy has been sacrificed. They need to convert onto a strategist right now, but Nevix is distracted elsewhere. Has to instead deal with DRP on the other side. The Rage of Ultron. The damage is good, yes, but can they try and finish off Beetle? A great pull in.
Good Captain
Guardian
Ult.
Shield and Freedom Charge to use to make sure the Captain America stays on. But Drijo can't be saved. Slightly too late on the trigger. Unable to respond to the stimuli that are arrayed before them. And Nevix is disengaged. Complicated shot slightly here by Leaf. Can't afford to be staggered, but maybe hunted down.
I mean, it's pretty bad. Smoke steals, double barrel can one-shot heavy.
By this torch, however, they have to back away given the peel and presence of Fi now.
That sucks.
The Pro have been able to regroup, and it's up to Beetle to buy Team Peps the space to stabilize on this high ground once more.
Fire's taking so much damage here. Hard is trying to cut off the
I mean, if you like hero shooters, you could try out Marvel Rivals. This isn't sponsored or anything, but like, pretty good. Marvel Rivals is interesting. I mean, it's a hero shooter, right? It's like Overwatch, but it plays a little bit differently. So if you like hero shooters, I definitely recommend trying it. And it is free, just like the finals. So pretty good. Either the issue is like nuke and all that stuff, but now it's pure disaster. I didn't even think nuke, like when it came to nukes, it was like the game wasn't even that bad, honestly. It's like I died to a nuke, oh well, I died to a game mechanic, right? Like that was like a huge game mechanic, and I think removing it kind of, it's not the best approach, but like it's good. They could have just nerfed the damage rather than just removing it entirely.
Oh no.
I felt like nukes were such a core mechanic of the game that it didn't feel right removing it in a way, if that makes sense. I understand why people hated it so much. I would have just liked them to nerf the damage than anything. I think it would have been fine. Nice.
Say goodbye to Exodia.
Good touch. Should have overtime.
The same as far as Team Peps are concerned. They're going to be down the strategist to try and do this. No quick returns on the docket. Larry's down as well. All damage taken now by Team Peps is permanent.
This game appears to be more cartoonish. Yeah. I mean, it's Marvel. It's right. It's heroes. Superheroes, supervillains.
Oh, that TP attempt is
The
going
game
to
appears more cartoonish. I mean, yeah. I mean, it is a cartoon.
That's devastating because they thought about going.
I mean, I enjoy it.
And then they realized that they just
I'll come from a lot of
so many
different
things
games,
that
so
can just
and
stop a Venom and also
I actually
move
enjoy this game
off
quite a
of
bit.
that Magneto when the fight begins. If it does go
I mean,
to
just
the
like
brawl fight,
every other game, though,
you're
it
not
has
gonna
its
have
ups and
Brawl,
downs,
you're
but
not going to
definitely
have
enjoyable.
Meteor M, you're going to have one less shield to be able to try and cover.
Like,
for
I
Meteor
recommend
that
the
comes
game,
through
essentially.
From the other side, and unfortunately for Peps, everyone from VP just understands the situation.
And it's
Someone's
free
got
to
keep
try,
winning,
so why wouldn't you?
regardless
Kind of.
what goes on
If you
around
don't like
them
it,
from
just
the side of
uninstall it.
Peps. So what better time to just jump on the unprotected back line, because Beetle's got to use the entirety of Freedom Charge just to guarantee that the map continues.
There's a catch-22 for Team Peps.
Somebody should be swapping the penny. They're not doing the penny
brief tourist spot here on the Magik.
Everyone's just gonna have 25 HP now. Instead of 50. That's fine. Nevix and Finzi should be on any rocket at the start, so that everybody, like your strategist, can get the shields. That's fine.
Yeah, for Team Peps, there's so many win conditions, but the number one has to be don't lose A immediately to a teleport play from a Doctor's range. I mean, Virtus Pro, they're not even going to attempt this range TP just yet. They're going to save it for if the fight starts going a little
we'll give it a
bit
try.
away from
Yeah,
Peps'
maybe
side.
you enjoy
They
it.
can
I
have
don't
one
know.
of the players come back in immediately on the brawl stage of the point itself.
I can't speak for everybody.
You
You could come from Call of Duty, Fortnite, or anything. It's just like, in my opinion, like when a free game comes out, like even if like a new free game came out tomorrow, I would try it if I like it.
But remember that it is going to be both torches with that C ability as well, provided by
Nice. Just kind of running over Peps now.
Team Peps, they disintegrated. Just for
Lucky.
target focus was so good. I guess everyone looked away from that aerial duel for a second, and they all in.
It's not even worth TPing here.
Aura Stealer and Larry.
Yeah, Nevix might not be
You playing now or just watching it?
it?
I'm watching a pro match. There's pro like Team VP and Peps. This is for the $3 million tourney. It's the playoffs.
At the same time, just get so much damage onto one target and move on to the next. And that's A immediately picked up. Team Peps were at least able to match some of the damages coming on through, so Hardest can still like this fight if he decides to hit emergency.
I'm watch partying a pro match, essentially. Yes, there's actually pro teams in comparison to the finals. So.
All right, Rage of Ultron. Neither one getting too much in the way of frag feed value. Still 5 falls through the cracks as the rest of the team were distracted by Beetle in the back. He's still back there. But disengagement actually getting body blocked here by Nevix, trying to complicate the pathing. We'll have to get out in their own right as they fall low and run out of shielding.
Trader is going to have fate of both worlds, so that VP can keep themselves mobile while they have that heal sustainability. Invis Boundary a little bit more static and tied to one position as Fire comes on through the Supernova. Trying to fight Fire with Fire.
What the heck?
And they almost find Leaf.
Oh, Leaf fell low, still managed to descend into that fate of both worlds. Aura still is taking so much damage yet again. Has
the
to
counter
of these flame tornadoes, and now it's DRP's turn for a little bit of redemption. A big meteor M, no, it's straight into Metallic Curtain.
Unlucky.
Fancy saying absolutely not, mate. I am the one who knocks with the spicy meter ball. But it's DRP again finding that iron volley frag onto the Human Torch. The
Leaf might be dead.
DRP cannot be understated.
Oh, he lives actually.
It's covered by the usage of the metallic bulwark. A mid-air attempt here from Sparker. It's a little bit risky to try and play with. Fi comes back. Oh, the thick Fi's.
You should have let it cook a little bit more, that meatball.
Down, cannot stay in the kitchen for too long. Inside of this invisible boundary, you can see Nevix using that freedom charge to constantly try and push Aura Stealer out of the AoE, but unsuccessful in this case. Team Peps, they are having to slowly disengage before they're reinforced by their freedom charge.
They've got freedom charge, and it's the only ultimate current in the field for all of the teams, so they have to make it count. Beetle goes aggressive, but gets frozen by the absolute zero from Geritro, and all of a sudden Peps is pushing.
Getting distracted. Let me lock in.
Alongside it.
All right, Fi looking for a target. Not worried too much about Leaf until they see an opening.
Oh, I mean, we got a lot of space here now to work with. If we can get rid of Beetle or the cap, we should be able to push in.
All of the strategist's attention right bloody now, and it's going to be Larry who answers the call. When the Avengers were called, it's a fate of both worlds.
Unlucky.
But Leaf is still having to dodge inside of that aura. Virtus Pro in control of the car is going to start rolling on forward. The Rage of Ultron, perfectly timed. It might overwhelm the Meteor M. It seems that Fincy may have actually caught it right there. The damage not
nice.
Huge
picks by Fee.
A spread out of damage. The cross ceiling is not enough. And Hardest, the last remaining strategist, falls at the end of their counterpart.
I mean, a quick wipe. They might be able to TP back and recontest. They might not even need a TP actually.
They know that Team Peps have a strange TP. They might just try.
They're gonna go for a TP. Good.
Alone, so they can have it if it comes down to an all eyebrow when they start losing players. But Virtus Pro are going to have high ground control. They're going to have so many avenues as well to spam damage from this Torch and Ultron into Team Peps' push.
Nevix making sure that moving through this choke It's far from easy.
Captain
just
Americas
on a
are just
physical
beating
level.
each other up.
Getting these body blocks is down to Beetle, fears will sleep off the top. Leaf under strain, under pressure. Could have actually been a bait right there. Might well be able to turn it around with the help of the Ultron going for a 2 versus 1, but elsewhere it's going to have to be Aura Stealer drawing up the healing.
That was very good.
Invisible boundary, 5 backs off for about a moment. Virtus still have 2 minutes left. Nevix has popped the Freedom Charge and a Vortex here.
I don't know if Freedom Charge was necessary needed from Nevix. Ooh, almost. Good pick though.
A quick hot drop to avoid an incoming spicy ball, and now Leaf is able to just stare from above inside this invisible boundary, looking in towards Larry. Larry's
nice.
away from a fate of both worlds, but it's Leaf who's
Peps is
fallen
kind of
down.
crumbling right now.
Once again, it's the VP usage of the Lunar Stone's offensive capabilities that might be the opening the fight's demand. Overwhelmed Larry.
Oh, managed to get the TP and
They were looking for
the Luna Snow ult off.
Plenty of sustainability. DRP's kicked away for a moment from the fight as it is a return off the back of that portal, but timing out here fine. Knows exactly when the fate of both worlds ends, and now it's time to lay down the flame tornadoes. Looking for a way to try and shut down Aura Stealer and Larry, but Team Peps have held strong in the midst of all of this. They've used their resources perfectly.
Rage of Ultron forces fight back on off. Supernova does.
We have Luna and Cloak instead of VP. Almost cap. Or cap and Luna.
But he's stalling the push backwards because VP have ultimates. They answer back. The IVAC and murder from DRP finds Saipe. Results into the pick on Invis, but Virtus Pro have a
Huge.
able to bypass Peps' players, and they're on the objective.
They just run past, they get on top of it. It's a supernova,
nice.
yes, but I'm afraid it's just going to be collapsing into a brown dwarf. As
Huge.
find their hopes scuppered. Aura Stealer will be returning, yes, and Larry going to be doing exactly the same.
Good job
for the
by
tournament
VP.
life of Team Peps. The Polar Bears roar with victory as they finish off Symbiotic Surface and go deeper into our lower bracket.
Yeah, Peps the second that they forced all of the ultimates
So
to try
Peps
and get those
is
picks
eliminated.
against VP.
EP
They know
moves
that they
on.
have to go
Good match,
aggressive.
though.
Beetle has to push for more to stop VP from regrouping, stabilizing.
Very good match.
And then coming back in with 2 defensive ultimates of their own to win the brawl fight and just push over to that payload past all of the players on the defense to force their hand. Suddenly, you're not thinking about, I need to take the player down.
Out of all of them, I think
You're
that third
thinking,
match was definitely more
I need to
winnable.
get my body onto that point so that we don't lose off of a lack of presence, and that's
Tried their
exactly
best,
what
though.
VP are able to take full advantage of. It came down to it, like, B really was a tug of war, entirely unlike what we saw on A, which was just swept aside so cleanly, and you really can applaud Peps for holding on as long as they did, but in the end, Virtus Pro just having full understanding of the tempo that they could play to take the win.
Feels like Virtus Pro have such good pivots as well. They just poke at the front, force some resources over onto DRP while catching all of that. Maybe you see Peps making a move to try and win that aerial duel, but suddenly all 6 members of Virtus Pro are shooting at your back line, and we just see Aura Stealer and Larry just being decimated constantly.
If it was, you know, Judo and Saipe coming on through with the MVP status in map 1 and map 2, it's Nevix map 3. That Captain America was able to force so many things, and even before we saw, it wasn't the last fight, it was the fight before where it's the exchange of the invis boundaries coming on out from Saipe and Aura Stealer. Aura Stealer's ultimate, the invis boundary, breaks the golden rule of thumb for strategists, which is it has to cover you, but it has to cover as much of the objective as it possibly can. That invis boundary from the defense was actually situated in the choke because of the amount of pressure that the Captain America was exuding. It barely covered the payload in comparison to Virtus Pro when they pulled back, waited out the 8-second duration, and came back in with their own. That entire objective was fully blanketed. It was direct center of the invis boundary from VP side.
Yeah, just making sure that vision being obscured. We've seen just how powerful as well as the vulnerability that the Terra Cape blinds can have in pro play when you're so reliant upon that awareness and really able to leverage all of the senses that you have. When some of that is taken away, things start to get real complicated. Virtus Pro coming back with a banger, showing that they are far from down. But maybe a wounded bear, but a wounded bear might be the most dangerous animal in this forest.
Yeah, you do not poke a bear with a stick, and you absolutely do not poke Virtus Pro with a stick, because they come back with a vengeance. Every single time they've taken either a map loss or a full series loss, the next day we've seen them swinging back absolutely lethally, showing off new compositions, new understandings, new pivots, and new map plays too, because, you know, we've talked a lot about how they have a couple of failures on domination. We didn't see that in Hell's Heaven today.
Yeah, certainly not. Really coalescing around that Fincy Emma Frost. Speaking of which, let's bring in the Queen King themselves. Fincy's here for an interview. It's glad to see your internet's working again, bud.
Yeah, thankfully it's working today, yeah.
Well, congratulations on the win, Finzy. Let's talk about Emma Frost, because it finally got banned against you guys on Symbiotic Surface. Was that something that you were anticipating to come through sooner?
See what Finnis says.
Maybe not sooner, but we expected it on the third map, since I was doing a lot the first two maps. And they kind of just had to shut that down, because I was winning the frontline battle like against 2 tanks just by myself. So they kind of had to ban the Emma at that point.
Keeping on the third map here, we often saw both Orestida and Larry going down at the same time very explosively. How are you guys as a team kind of manufacturing those double knockouts onto the enemy backline?
I do a lot of like 3-2-1s and dive the backline, and then in like when both teams are ulting, we just call one target and I try to grab it, or we all try to focus it with cloak blind or other abilities. So it's mostly just communication.
And was communication how you were able to deal with Beetle as well? Because a lot of the time we even actually saw you guys utilizing the Captain America on Symbiotic Surface, just pressuring the backline, permanently pushing them back. When we saw the performance on Spider Islands, it felt like you guys were really adept at just shutting the Captain America down immediately.
Yeah, if you don't focus the Captain America, like especially on payload, then he's just gonna stall it for a while. So you can't have to like at least 3-4 people focus the Captain quickly, get him out, so you can keep moving and taking space.
After the tragic loss yesterday in the long series against Berber, were there any adjustments you had to make coming in for today, or was it just running some Ethernet cable?
Yeah, I just went to the store and bought a long Ethernet cable to run through my entire house. Like yesterday, I was DCing like at least half the maps. It was really rough. I don't really count that as a loss that much, because I barely played the maps. So, I mean, we'll see when we play them again. It will be different now that my internet is working.
And Enzo said in the interview yesterday that the win that they were able to take against you guys was entirely different to the win that Rad were able to take. Do you agree? Do you think that Berber and Rad were like on the same level in terms of those defeats, or were the matches closer?
Said that
I think Enzo is right.
Doesn't count as a loss.
We just we read the meta very wrongly and we played horribly. But yesterday we played well. I think we should have won. We won way more fights, but they were good at stalling with ults and stuff, and I was DCing all the time, so I think it will be different next time we play them. But they did play well yesterday.
Oh, hoping we get to see that. Thank you so much for joining us, Fincy, and congratulations on being so back.
Thank you, thank you.
That was Fincy from the Virtus Pro, moving deeper into our lower bracket. Still facing elimination mocks, but incredibly scary opponent for anyone who's going to come on down. And well, we're going to find out who's going up against them with our next matchup. You can see that we are going to be coalescing our lower bracket into a single stack. Z10 versus L9 will decide who goes up against VP to get into our lower bracket finals.
Yeah, it turns out when Thanos isn't pulling the strings of your Ethernet cables, Virtus Pro are just as dominant and scary as ever. But this next matchup is definitely scary for, I think, both of the teams coming into this, right? Zero Tenacity probably did not anticipate having to go up against Low 9. They were probably potentially planning up against Insomnia. And then when we look at Low 9, how they were able to secure their wins coming on through with an amazing performance off of all of their players. But definitely the standout for me was Crisis. Yesterday, having the ability to deal with the Wolverine strategies is going to come in severe handy when you're going up against Zero Tenacity, because we know that Lugia likes to play the Vanguard, but then also, funnily enough, likes to play the thing that directly counters his role. The Wolverine is a flex that this team loves to play as well.
Yeah, we've seen Lugia also occasionally pick up the Thing, which does not do amazingly into either Hela or Crisis's Punisher. Crisis has been pretty crazy on Punisher. I think that Crisis might be one of the standout players from L9, but Honestly, all of L9 have really proven how good they are. They're putting in the effort. They have the talent to make it work. But Z10 coming through as our #1 seed from the group. They certainly are a tricky customer. We'll find out how it goes down after this break.
It should be a pretty even matchup, I would say. Might go the distance.
Struck down by living chi.
Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the world I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon, and I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are set now for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way, come find me. Do you remember who you really are? Show me that you are still the only one for me. I'll be waiting for you. Wake up, open your eyes, raising up your fists and smashing through time walls. Before the rift splinters again. The
Rivals till the end.
rise up, open your minds, hold on to your powers. No one can stop us. We are rivals till the end of time. We will clash, no matter where. We will fight, reaching across time and space. 'Cause you are my destiny to the end. You see the dawn, the flames burning brightly, shining on those memories. And yes, across all time I see you turning the tides. And do you see now our time, our turn? We can still fight like the wind and fire, and wonder no more. That now is the only time.
Yep.
your heart
Break time. Winning.
Light has fallen, darkness grows, and yes, we fight for our destiny and fate. New days smiling for the past and future. Break those chains, lead the way, fight with me. And when you wake up, open your eyes, raising up your fists and smashing through time walls. Before the rift splinters again, we are rivals till the end. Rise up, open your minds, hold on to your powers. No one can stop us. We are rivals again until the end of time. Show me that you are still the only one that matters for me. I'll be waiting for you. Wait up, open your hands, holding on to your heart. Look inside you. Can you feel it? The sparks in you. Light it up, unleash it all. Wake up, open your eyes, raising up your fists and smashing through time walls. Before the rift splinters yet again, we are rivals till the end. And rise up, open your minds, hold
Mox, it's always so hard to say goodbye to our talented teams here at EMEA, but yet we have to do so again. We have to drop another one as we're in the elimination bracket here at EMEA playoffs.
Yeah, low 9 versus Zero Tenacity. You are right. Unfortunately,
It's
one
a
of
big
these
map.
teams is going to be permanently sent out of the tournament, and it's honestly pretty close to call because both of these teams have some strategies that aren't full meta, and having that curveball come on through, surprising a lot of teams, has allowed them to find wins where I think have exceeded expectations, especially for the side of low 9, a team that got put together literally last minute as you would possibly like, having a lot of players too flexing over to roles that they didn't traditionally cover. The fact that they find themselves as far as they have has exceeded even their own expectations, they were saying.
And we're exceeding your expectations for what a broadcast could give you, because we're not just entertaining here at EMEA, we are giving you the goodies. Twitch drops exclusively on partner channels of Marvel Rivals Ignite, covering the biggest tournament in the world for Marvel Rivals with a $3 million prize pool. And just for you guys, you can get yourself your Will of Galacta spray, your nameplate, the Echoes of Limbo emote for Magik, and then the Will of Galacta can be known in beautiful cyan and purple.
Yes, and I mean, that's essentially 2 skins for 1 too, because that changes the Darkchild appearance too. And this version of Darkchild looks absolute fire, much like the Echoes of Limbo emote.
Yeah, very impressive. Love to see that one. We have to dive straight into our games, though. Our rosters are ready and raring to go after just seeing Virtus Pro versus Team Bubbles. Let's open up with Zero Tenacity here, coming up as I believe our Group A winners. And that was a little bit of a surprise, managing to get one over on Berber Padapim, who have been a lights out team, one of our favorites coming into the entirety of this group. Zero Tenacity are a roster where you can always expect surprises, but they're also very consistent.
Yeah, expect the unexpected when it comes to Zero Tenacity. We don't even know if they're going to be running out on a 2-2-2 composition because they've shown so much fluctuation. You know, we've had Lugia come through on things like the Fang. We've seen the Wolverine come out. Knuten played Hawkeye and made him look absolutely terrifying in comparison to all of what we've seen has been possible with things like the Ice Arrow team up. And then Ducky as well, a very strong Vanguard, globally ranked Groot from the beginning of the game. So even if you take away things like the Mag and the Ammo, Zero Tenacity are more than happy to continue playing ball.
Oh yeah, they love playing a little bit of that. We have a touch of Lugia on the thing. This was actually, I believe, Lugia's most iconic pick from a Marvel Rivals Invitational as well. We really started to see Ecstatic break out of, like, no offense Ecstatic, who were trashed here. When they stopped being trashed here and started really showing some good improvement, a lot of it came down to Lugia moving over onto the thing, like Shades of Nevix over there. So we really started to see the potential of this team. But when it comes to potential, low 9 over on the other side, these are a bunch of players who just kind of said, you know what, let's do it. They've given it their all. They entered the Ignite qualifiers as like a rando group, but the talent, the work, the perseverance that they've been putting in has been absolutely crazy. I've seen a lot of the Twitter memes at the moment rating solo queue players in your ranked games. Crisis is always in the S tier. Bro is an absolute DPS machine on the Duelist, and particularly on the Winter Soldier and on the Punisher, but he's got a couple surprises.
Yeah, I mean, L9, they perfectly counter-stratted coming up against Insomnia, who were known for having one of the best Wolverines, Demon, and Demon got to do absolutely nothing because we got to see Crisis move over to the Hela and utilize a cooldown that maybe you didn't think would be played to counterplay a dive character, but Soul Drainer, that hard CC, the 3-meter radius orb that grabs an enemy directly to its center, 0.3 second stun doesn't feel like a lot, but when it has a 10-second cooldown in comparison to Wolf's Grab, which is on a 12-second cooldown, well, we start to see moments like this occur as Demon found out when Low 9 and Insomnia matched up on Central Park, and every single time that Wolverine tried to come on through and find a grab onto one of those Vanguards or a potential flyer, it was instantly interrupted by the Soul Drainer cast.
Yeah, that Soul Drainer really can be annoying to try and deal with. It's always good to try and have those pocket pastes. It can complicate a ban phase a little bit. Jerky yesterday made a lot of pivots over onto the Wolverine, actually delivered so much value with the last time. It's actually the map-winning ultimate, in my opinion, up against Insomnia, and really put Insomnia off guard when we went in thinking that Insomnia should have been the preferred team. And honestly, I think that Low 9 just has so much versatility. I was singing Wolver's praises yesterday. Won multiple fights off the back of 4-man Eye of Agamotto's, which are incredibly rare to see in organized pro play.
Yeah, the fact as well that they were able to hold on through all of those overtime fights off of Araka, where we just got to see stagger after stagger after stagger coming on through. It's fair to say that this one has the potential to go the full distance, but then when you go up against their tenacity, we don't know what this team is exactly going to be coming out with. So adaptation and evolution is going to be the continued storyline as these two match wits over and over again.
Yeah, between these two, I do not know what to think. Zero Tenacity can be like, they can absolutely pants Burbo Patapim, or they can completely drop the ball. they're kind of similar to Burbo Patapim in that way. Their lows get pretty low, but their highs are incredibly high.
Well, do Zero Tenacity prioritize taking the Loki away, as Gonski was an absolute standout with that strategy.
Big match.
Low 9 would actually save the Loki over a Vanguard, as Zero Tenacity actually prioritized the Magneto. Right now, having the ability for the first save being on that attacker side, they're going to be able to secure the Emmet Frost before Low 9 get the ability to ban something else out, and then they can save. So if they want a one-sided Loki, they absolutely can gravitate towards it. And since we're seeing the Asgardian already being teased on that ban selection, it feels like that's the direction we're headed.
Yeah, and the thing about Low 9 is they're not too fussed about saving the Emma, because Saintomoto is an incredibly good cap player. It kind of forces a later cap ban for Zero Tenacity to make Saintomoto go elsewhere, but Wolf is incredibly versatile. Yeah, they're messing with me. I ain't falling for the bait. I ain't falling for the bait, guys. Low 9, let's get a real pick over here.
What are you talking about? They've got that Will of Galactic magic skin. That makes them fireable, right?
True, and they're actually going to protect the Emma here. Maybe
They're
we
playing
see a pivot from Saintomoto, which
Magic?
would be interesting considering just how effective the cap has been on Hell's Heaven from every team so far.
I feel as well like Saintomoto might not want to be running the Captain America into the Emma Frost that Zero Tenacity made sure to secure. Also, we're now going to see Jerky's Psylocke be prioritized as a ban. Interesting that Smash Nez's Torch has so far been able to make it through, as that has
What's up, everybody?
high priority to remove
We're
from
back.
teams that have run against Zero Tenacity
Match
in
to
the past.
match.
So it looks like it's actually going to be a mirrored Punisher ban coming through from both of the teams.
Yep, unsurprising given how threatening both Knuten and Crisis are on that hero. First Protect now going to come through from Low 9. This is going to give us some real insight into what they have designed on their side, and it is going to be Gonski's Loki, I imagine. We anticipate that maybe it will be an early Protect for the Loki.
Yep,
Was not
good
punished
Protect.
by Zero Tenacity, which they were a little bit more worried about the combination of maybe the cap and the Psylocke together. And didn't want to invest the ban on the cap itself.
There goes the torch, so Zero Tenacity might be able to secure Smash Nez getting one-sided Human Torch, but no! Luna Snow is going to be taken out instead for the side of Low 9. Now they're going to be able to protect the torch, however, as if they do get target banned
Torch
out of
save,
Luna
looks
Snow,
good.
they can still fall back onto the Invisible Woman or the Cloak and Dagger, or vice versa. As Low 9 have a little bit of a question to ask themselves, and I actually really like this. If you remove the Mantis, because we've seen teams go for something akin to ResComp, where they actually put in the Human Torch over the Star-Lord, because teams have sort of identified now that ResComp doesn't have all that much damage outside the ultimate cycles if the Adam and the Star-Lord don't get the in when Magneto's taken out, and you don't get your Blaster Barrage with your Bulwark Bubbles coming on through. So taking out the Mantis removes the potential of both the ResComp, but also means that if you try and pocket something like an Ultron, Ultron's going to find far less value when you have a Soul Resurgence to pair up with the Rage.
Ooh.
Yeah, that extra movement speed can be so good for the Ultron as well with the Soul Resurgence. Just allowing it to wrap around corners where people are looking to take cover and then find them in a less evasive area, let's say. Hell's Heaven once again is going to be our opening matchup right here. Zero Tenacity and Low 9 are facing down the barrel. Only one can survive, but there's still all the chance in the world to make it.
Hell's Heaven Dom.
I believe I saw Crisis as well just before we headed into map overview.
Playoffs, loser is out, winner goes on. So again, we're doing the Penny team up for 50 extra HP with the jump boost instead of just Rocket, which would give us 25. So doing the team up is always the better option in that scenario.
hit those shots, and that hella
Whenever
can
you can.
definitely be a threat to the Flyers coming on through.
It's a very
If you
good
win
thing to
the
do.
first fight for both of these teams, it is so crucial that they win the first fight so that their duelists have the room to breathe.
That's why Zero Tenacity are already investing the portal here to try and get that advanced positioning.
So we
Still
portal
jerky.
to take the
It's not really
space
too-
early,
playing
which
too
is
far afield
fine.
here on the Star-Lord just yet, playing more of a frontline duelist role, just laying down the poke and the damage to try and open things up for Crisis. Remember that Soul Drainer in the back pocket. Oasis and Winnie being able to play together means the Guardian Shield can benefit them both.
Hopefully Crisis can-
already fallen down. Must have been some
This is very hard for
suppression
Crisis,
onto
I
a
feel.
low-line strategies to allow them to fall through the cracks. Now Saints
Yeah,
is feeling
they need to like
very
change up
isolated
their
from the
comp
Aegis being brought up there by
already,
Ducky
I
as well
think.
to block off the primary fire healing from the strategists.
Yeah, Canute just getting to play around map.
Like, we have
geography
two
perfectly.
main
Also
healers on the
splitting
side of
angle
Zero
from
Tenacity
Smashness so that
versus
Crisis
this-
can only see
Oh.
one flyer at a time. So it does look like we have a little bit of a pause coming on first.
GG.
But that allows us to sort of really look at how these compositions are going to interact, because Hela takes a lot of resources to make work,
Yeah.
right? You either play her on an off angle with a perma pocket of one of your strategists, or you play her in the stack of your team. If you play her with the stack, you lose the space of an off angle pressure. If you play her on an off angle, yeah, you've got another direction that you can send damage through, but you've also now got a vulnerability which is
Awesome.
going to bleed resources away from your front line. So there's give and take for both playstyles with her.
Yeah. And are you going to want to invest something like for Snowflake when usually that's going to be going on to the hypermobile Star-Lord, who's a little bit mechanically harder to heal and is often going to be in those little nooks and crannies away from the LOS? One of the interactions we saw in that first fight as well was the use of Emma's Aegis shield to block off healing coming the way of the Vanguards that were on point for low 9. And that can really be troublesome for a Cloak and Dagger in particular, who have a very meager damage output with the Light Force daggers. So you can't break through that Aegis at all. You've got to do a full reposition.
Yeah, you can somewhat
Awkward
finesse
moment.
the situation, though, with the Cloak and Dagger's primary actually being able to bounce. So if you find a wall, then you can actually bounce the dagger into the player from behind the shield regardless. Though it can be particularly tricky on this map, though, because the map, the changes, right? Sometimes the point is vertical and sometimes it starts descending a little bit further, and that verticality can definitely interfere with the LOS that is open to some of those strategists, forcing them into some really rough positions where they have to hard swing out away from those corners, which would normally provide them cover from all of the damage that would be sent their way otherwise.
Now we're just going to figure out who's been calling for a pause. I believe we did have a couple of technical issues from low 9 yesterday when we were playing Bin into Charla. Luckily, we've got the pause a little bit earlier this time, so all's fair in love and war, and you do not want to be in a position where your tournament life is on the line for a little bit of a technicality. So we'll give them time to sort everything out. In the meantime, you're trapped in the Hydra-based podcast with two Brits.
Oh,
And there we go. We are back in the game, baby.
Yeah.
Back.
It's
Yo,
all
what's up,
business
everybody?
Now, as Canuten gets to play on all of these different off-angle scenes, Moto is actually going to be going over towards the Captain America so they can try and put pressure on that backline and provide Crisis a little bit more room to be able to breathe without being instantly focused down in these retake situations. However, that Captain America does have to contest with Ducky and the Carbon Crush that will be sent his way if he gets a little bit too close.
Yeah. However, the contestation on the ground here is going to be a little bit weaker with both Knudsen and Smashness up in the air, having to move away for a moment. Moto is getting a little bit poked out. On
Good
the
damage.
It feels like
Very good
going
damage
against
here.
the Ultron as Captain America can very much stymie your backline pressure. You have to be constantly careful about shifting around that drone, though, for maximum value. Lona have been able to claim the high ground, but it will be just as quickly evicted from it. Oh, what an intercept there from Jerky. Just the hit scans combining to make sure that that 50 HPS the Ultron receives is far from
Good
enough.
temp
The
ult.
backline just gets
I
rammed
think it's
through.
fine.
Moto finds the opening. Without that Ultron, you're just so vulnerable to getting rammed
Didn't
down by
necessarily need to
Captain
do that, but I
America.
think it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, Gonski as well had all of the Loki doppelgangers. The army very much had been assembled on that high ground too, so that you had 3 Lokis all looking at the Ultron the second that the rage came on out, and then they can burst from the high ground to the point itself off of the back of the Eternal Bond coming on through from Pin. Cloners. Saint Moto is pushing even further into Zero Tenacity space to make sure that all of the angles can be developed before a retake situation can be put into motion for Ducky 1 or even Smashness with the Supernova. This Human Torch is going to be so exposed.
Ults.
And Jerky sees the split. Canute is a little bit
Oh my
too
God.
The rest of his team. Out comes Galactic Legend. As without that Ultron, Zerg and
Oh, no.
they've got to make up the absence with an ult.
Really, he kills him, right? Wait, he almost lost the 1v1.
This crisis rains down the strong crows upon the coalesced forces of Zero Tenacity, but it's Pinclone who's the first to fall. Trades it out now for Oasis. A good trade coming through from Wolver onto a backline now. Winnie gonna be under siege. Saint Tomoto starts to break in towards that backline. Wolver has to erect their own Aegis to try and defend themselves, as it's gonna be a trade out between the Emma Frost. Smashness still reigns above it all and rains down fire upon an
Very good, Bam.
crisis. You're gonna need more than a bird in the bush to get away from this one.
64% to 71% with Zero Tenacity having that Sonic Seduction, and Low 9 not having anything to counterplay it outside of just hiding for cover behind the map itself and potentially a well-placed shield. It's last fight though, and Low 9 have no choice but to walk directly into the ultimate.
Very good,
Zero
very good.
Tenacity are going to use the second that this fight opens up.
Sonic Seduction is going to be so brutal to try and deal with when you do not have a hugely reliable shield. Once that Aegis goes down, Jerky already noted on the outside. Saint Tomoto just plays around the outside. Saint Tomoto now has to make a decision. Do you want to try and intercede on behalf of your team to try and stop this play coming through from Ducky, or do you want to try and move in towards the back line itself? And it seems like Oasis is going to be that primary target. Jerky really wants to get rid of Knut.
Good ult on the point.
Damage has already been done. The Rage of Ultron needs no anger management. He's equal to the Hulk when it comes to the burning lambast that he has laid upon this backline. Pinclone has to put down their healing bubble only
Get
for
a
themselves.
TP.
Windows
Oh, we don't know.
forth as well
We
to
actually
try
done
and
TP.
keep these vanguards sustained on the point. But when you come into Lugia's domain, when you go under a sea, you get put down like a legendary bird. Zap those stairs.
Good job, Zero Tenacity.
From afar, as Lugia's attention is brought upon Low 9.
Yeah, Low 9, the hand was forced. They had to burn regen domain before the fight even starts, thanks to a well-placed Carbon Crush coming on through from Ducky, which is followed up immediately by both of the shields, the Emma's Aegis and the Seraphim.
I think we need a
shield coming in
comp
from Lugia
switch.
to just block the LOS of any heal that could be sent their way, and with the Loki lamp removed, the Eternal Bond
Instead of
unfortunately
L9
does not have the space to keep the team sustained through all of that Rage of Ultron that is being put down onto the players that are still rotating.
That's what I would
onto
be
the
looking
point
at,
itself.
a comp
And now they're
switch.
going to be down that ultimate. Pinclone is at least going to be able to take advantage.
I don't
swapping
think
on over
it's
to the
really
rocket
working.
to provide the armor packs. And Zero Tenacity a little bit too close to their
There's so
ultimates
much
to
healing.
sacrifice the charge.
The battle starts in 5, 4,
Zero Tenacity
2,
seeing their path to victory here, and it is most certainly paved with very successful Rage of Ultrons. That might be one of the most successful Rage of Ultrons we've seen thus far. When it came to VP, they really didn't put that much
Be high ground.
power of it, instead was using it to force out strategist ultimates on the other side. And once again, Zero Tenacity make an early investment of their portals to claim the high ground.
Saint Tomoto on the low ground now tries to wrap around,
Good
but he's
jail
instantly
by
marked
Smash.
out by Smashnez on this torch, and he has to give up that position immediately. Smashnez is keeping an eye on every single angle that Crisis could potentially pop up on.
Good eye, good eye.
Attacks, 2 players stunned. Pinclone and Crisis both finished off there by Lugia. No doubt given a momentary burst of damage boost from Oasis. A 3-2-1 successfully disassembles the push.
I don't know if
Low 9
Supernova was
so proud of to move
necessarily
into.
needed there.
It's going to be a full investment here from Low 9. 3 ultimates at once. Sonic Seduction, yeah, the Galactic Legend and the Freedom Charge, but up in the air. No one's getting the bonus help from Saint Tomoto. Oh, Low 9, this is economically ruinous.
This might be a pivot
That's very good.
to a new composition coming on through, but it was also something that Low 9 knew that they had to invest into. The Hela, the Star-Lord, the Captain America can all find value if you're in control of the space before the
That
fight
bots?
begins. But
I don't
now
know.
you're going to be walking into a fight that you're going to have to pay a toll of numbers, of resources, of ultimates before you can even get to your goal of that objective. And Zero Tenacity are going to be able to drop a body surely before this fight begins, with the range, with the spam from the Ultron, from the torch, even from the threat of the Emma if you get too close.
Jerky works the margins, demands attendance. And Pinclone has gained a lot of space here for Low 9. Could start capturing the point already, waiting for a Terror Cape here from Pinclone to try and make everyone a little bit more vulnerable. But still, in the back, you got to worry about Smashnez and Newton on the angles. So damage already been done to the remainder of your strategists, though. Oasis and Winnie.
So there's not really much to talk about in Dom.
Not so long for this world either. Crisis is
In Dom, it's mainly just about like ult management.
Smart currency exchange coming through from low 9. Translate the spam pressure from Zero Tenacity
And
into
comp
immediate Eternal
differences.
Bond from Pin Clone so you can open up the fight. And then once Eternal Bond has expired, you've still got the regen domain from Gonski on this Loki to anchor onto this point. And now Crisis is in position. Jerky can jump onto Zero Tenacity mid-rotation, and Saint Moto can permanently be there to pressure and force the team to turn.
Morva freely charging up this beam right here already. The regeneration domains have
Nice charm.
It's a huge sonic seduction. 3 players grabbed in place, but before the follow-up is there, they've mostly been able to save themselves. Smash this though.
That's an insane charm, but unluckily we didn't get any value really.
They strike back with such vigor.
That's so sad.
Low9 can barely stand up to it. Even with the freedom charge of Saint Moto giving over that additional HP, it feels so far gone from a capacity for a retake. Low9 is doing their best to stall this one out to at least extract percentage from the fight, but Knuten is just above it all, laying down so much fire.
Zero Tenacity have such a good read of the situation. They know that they can't stall, that they can't hesitate. And so they just send the fight immediately into Brawl, breaking out with both Sonic Seduction and Fate of Both Worlds.
Yeah, I think this is definitely like a draft difference.
But what they don't have is power when it comes to the 6v6 slug fiesta. In Zero Tenacity, take full advantage. Saint Mojo now goes over to the point, drawing Lugia to have to contest. They know what the strange is. They don't have to worry about Eye of Agamotto for now, as Lugia on the low ground to get to the high is going to have to burn that shift, the levitation, and that's going to telegraph the ult.
Oh, Jerky on the off angle here, but inside the invisible boundary now, Smashnet's is going to come inside and try and take that aerial duel. Slowed on the exit means that it has to be a disengage. Pinecone doing their best to try and follow up with some healing, but guess what? The remainder of the team, they were so far away from the Eternal Bond. They were up on the catwalk, and while there's only one cat in town you have to worry about, that's Lugia with a 3-person stun off the back of the Eye of Agamotto, and Zero Tenacity perfectly play that fight. Don't even worry about the healing coming through from the Eternal Bond.
On
Hell's Heaven.
Yeah, no 9 lives.
I think a comp diff there.
A dominant performance coming on out from the end of Zero Tenacity.
Like we tried to get the double hit skin online and we just couldn't.
But Soul Drainer never quite found a target. Smashnaz was always quite literally on
Unfortunate there.
things. There is a reason that this torch has been banned and barred from Zero Tenacity's end, as much as teams coming up against them have been able to secure
With Zero Tenacity winning,
went 25-0. He did not drop. Was never extinguished a
with Zero Tenacity winning, L9 is going to be picking Convoy or Convergence, and they get to pick the side as well.
More of a kite and fight than a tank and spank team.
See that.
We saw great rotations coming through from Winnie and Oasis, just buying time for Knuten and Smash to really leverage the off angles that they were gaining on Low9's more front to back kind of composition. But they were always chasing after the main core of Zero Tenacity, who often were just outspeeding them on those counter rotations due to the information that was being gathered by the Flyers and Lugia in these advanced positions.
Yeah, it was essentially just a constant detective game coming on from Zero Tenacity, having those eyes in the sky and giving them constant feed of where Saint Moto was positioning, of which angle Crisis could potentially be, and if the Hela wasn't playing an off angle and vulnerable to being dive bombed upon by a duo team-up squad of an Ultron and a Torch, she was therefore playing with the core, and she is incredibly vulnerable in a brawl fight. We don't often see Helas involved in the brawl because you need her to be on that off angle, having that 2-tap potential coming on through, as unfortunately the second that you've exhausted your shift, your reposition Raven form, you do tend to get taken out pretty quickly, as Hela's hitbox is pretty sizable.
Yeah, she can be very vulnerable. That large head as well does mean plenty of crits can go her way. We'll have to see if L9 will be able to find a variation, but really gives them an edge up over on Z10 after this break.
So break reset. Yeah, I don't know. Who we rooting for? L9 or Z10? Let me know in the chat. Who we going for? Who we going for?
My power grows. Behold the god of thunder!
Nice. What L9 will pick.
Remember the dusk, the lights gripping tightly, trapping all those fighting souls. But yet, across the world, I see you standing in my way. And remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon. And I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are set now for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way, come fight me. Do you remember who you really are? Show me that you are still the only one for me. I'll be waiting for you. Wake up, open your eyes, raising up with this and smashing through time walls. Before the rift splinters again, we are rebels till the end. Rise up, open your mind, hold on to your powers, no one can stop us. We are rivals till the end of time. We will clash, no matter where. We will fight, reaching across time and space. 'Cause you are my destiny to the end. See the dawn, the flames burning
Bum,
bright,
bum.
shining on those memories. And yes, across all time I see you turning the tides. And do you see now our time, our turn? We can
Fire music, true.
Low 9 find themselves looking to the sky, but they see no heroes nor salvation, only villains up there like Knuten and Smashnez.
Yeah, I do not foresee a Human Torch making it through the ban system this time around, Harry. It's definitely something when your Human Torch goes 25-0. Granted, Smashnez had a pocket of 3 strategists just calling and catering to his every beck and whim, but when you have a Torch who is that accurate and doing that much damage to Saint Emotion and the Captain America, you give him every
Yeah, that was very
resource
good.
he wants.
Yeah, Smashnez asks, Smashnez receives. Zero Tenacity, I think they've read very well here, pivoting into a flyer composition against a Cap who is as good as Saint Emoto. It's just, it can be fairly easy to shut down that Cap dive just using the Ultron drone. It doesn't really drain resources either, because the Ultron drone has no cooldown to reposition. So it's fairly easy to track that approach.
So we are in Central
Majority
Park.
of the Psylocke has followed through as well, given the fact that Psylocke was targeted. Does mean that Captain America on his own does not have to be dealt with as rapidly as is required when he has a backup.
Mirror mag
As
ban.
Magneto is going to be removed for both sides, as both of them going to be prioritizing retaining
Emma
their
save,
own
probably?
as the Vanguard instead.
All right, yeah. Prioritizing that, Emma. We did see it prioritized by Low 9 for Wolver to play, but honestly, I would have liked to have seen Saint Emoto pick up the Emma
Emma save.
and beyond the Doctor Strange, where he has been
Probably
getting so much value thus far.
a strategist
Wouldn't mind seeing
band
Low
or a
9
torch
go for,
band
Zero Tenacity,
into
look for a Hulk pivot if things start to get a little
Emma
bit
save,
dicey.
probably?
Whenever Luke is fantastic at the
So
Hulk.
Psylocke band, that's
Central
fine.
Park is,
Then
of
Emma
course, the
save.
map choice here, and this was Low 9's choice. They're going to go for a very early ban onto the Psylocke, which
me
is
Emma.
kind of interesting
Low
considering
key.
that they do have quite a bit of space
Interesting.
and runway before they have to really address that Psylocke.
Yeah,
You
but
just
if
ban
you want
Emma.
Smashnez on the torch,
Please ban Emma.
banning the Psylocke is definitely going to force Low 9's hand into having to look at a torch ban a little bit earlier than they potentially
torch ban's
would have
fine,
wanted.
but I
It
think
very
Emma's
much
way
feels like
better.
Zero Tenacity are heating the pressure up for Low 9 to try and target out Smash.
That's good. That's fine.
All right, both of the Vanguard du jour, the Photom Vanguards, have now been banned away from Zero Tenacity. Likely unbothered by those. Unlikely to see a Lugia go pivot into the thing, though, given that Crisis is generally going to be playing over the Punisher, the Winter Soldier, or the Hela. Would be unsurprising to see the Punisher banned, and there it is. We might have to see a
Punso.
Punisher Protect here from
Yeah.
Low 9, or,
Zero
from Zero
Tenacity.
Tenacity.
I think that is the direction that you could go for sure, since you've now been able to make it. That, yeah, Knuten is going to be the only Punisher on the scene, and Cloak and Dagger still being in play as well, but no, it's a Luna Snow save. Instead, as Low9 now really have to scratch their heads and try and figure out what to exhaust this last ban on, because Psylocke is still up for Zero Tenacity, and so too is Punisher. And
Fun ban.
Wolverine, and it looks like they're actually going to be going for the Punisher prioritization, which means that Luna now allows that Psylocke so much more value. As Low9, anticipating a Psylocke coming through, are going to instantly be saving Gonski's Loki, so they have the doppelgangers to at least be able to try and absorb some of the pressure that comes from the Dance of the Butterflies.
Oh, if we see a Wolverine ban here, I would not be surprised to see Lugia actually make the play onto the Hulk. The Hulk really thrives with Luna on the field because she's so
Pretty
good
standard.
at just sustaining through the meat sponging that he does. You know, the long range healing, really not suffering that much from damage drop off, and the capacity to give over that
Pretty standard bans.
Snowflake, the Idol Aura can be so important. And there it is, Lugia locking in the Hulk.
It's also for Ducky 1 on the Groot. Wolverine is not really what you want to have in play when Groot is going to be coming on through. But then again, we have seen that Zero Tenacity and Low9 have been able to deal with Wolverines in the past. And it being Central Park, we have seen Zero Tenacity in the past utilize Ducky with that
Pretty
Groot.
standard.
And then you can get even more value with the Hulk coming through, as well as getting to see that Namor. Strangling Prison, Horn of Proteus is not an ultimate that you want to see get paired together if you're a strategist on the other side, because it has enough damage to pass, to break through all of the heals per second. It's just the regen domain that's going to be able to bail you out.
Okay. We have
Regeneration
Ruth
domain might be
Bucky.
the only
It's a
option,
good
but it was
combo
stolen away
with
in
a
advance
more
by Zero
Hulk,
Tenacity. They went for a
Loki,
prioritized ban on
and a
Loki, if I remember
Luna.
correctly,
This is
their
a pretty
second
good
ban
comp on Zero
after that
Tenacity
Magneto.
side. On the side of Low9,
Incredibly important. Low9
you're
can be on the
looking
other
at
First question is, do they instantly invest themselves?
Strange
They
Emma
just gonna
Wolf,
walk it down slow and see what they're dealing with.
Invis
And it's
Loki,
gonna be a little bit of a scout to come
the
through
Winter Soldier.
first. Winter
I like
Soldier
Zero
on the
Tenacity's
field
comp a
for
lot
both of these
better.
teams, given that Loki is in play for
I'll be
both of
honest.
these teams. Well, the shield going to be breaking a little bit, but allowing Crisis a perfect angle to start building up to this first Kraken impact.
And even I simply lie. Crisis is going to be able to, of course, really move through. Well, both Crisis and Knuten are going to be able to tear through these clones with the Rotterstern at range, and of course the Kraken impact when it builds up. Already 50% here. Ducky got isolated. Must have been pulled in by Pinkclone right there, who's been having a lights out week on the Invisible Woman so far. Smashlers already has used their Blessing of the Deep and has to be extricated from the situation by the usage of the regeneration domain. You can't really survive too easily though. When you
I don't really
all
like
in
that
to the
room.
territory of Low9. Great play off the back of Saint Tomoto following up, and this is what I want to see. Saint Tomoto pivoting over onto the Emma.
Well, Ducky 1 going down early does mean that they're going to be able to Strange TP recontest, and oh, never mind.
Unlucky.
Strange TP in Trooper's Fist was not on the point in time, and that is now Low9 breaking into B, and Lugia has
What the?
been found separated from the team, and a separated Hulk
That's a
is
big
weak
stagger.
Hulk. That Vanguard is now going to get staggered even longer.
What a grab from Jerky. Just giving enough time for Lugia to reach the cart and stop it before executing once again. And it feels like right now the control on
That was a massive stagger.
Absolutely sublime.
Saint Tomoto keeping up the charge
hook.
on that. Emma does go get grabbed out by the bionic hook, has the diamond form to pull back onto. Zero Tenacity try to pull this one back. Knuten with the ultimate helped buoyed up by the fate of Flow Force, potentially gets shut down by the Eye of Agamotto from Rover though, and there it is, the Maelstrom of Madness takes the Winter Soldier down.
Quick tap of the purple aura, and guess what? It's a mistiming when it comes to both the Strangling Prison and the Horn of Proteus.
Nice
They
hook.
can't be used together. Zero Tenacity, I don't know how they fumbled this fight so hard. They had everything they needed. And now with
Yeah.
so many players down, Lugia is using the World Breaker Hulk. This has got to be a comp pivot, right?
Yeah, Smash
You have to
Mouth
swap the
is
comp.
coming back on the Psylocke. Just
Have
so
to
they
swap.
can potentially hit into that backline, maybe turn Low9's heads to have to peel for one of their strategists to drain the momentum and resources that Crisis is going to have heaped on their shoulders for the Kraken impact as the Wolverine grabs, doesn't find the grab. Ducky.
Yeah, the Berserk status serves them well here. I believe it was an attempt at a troll portal coming through from Wolver, but it was grabbed, stunned by the Bionic Hook of Newton. Ready to go yet again with another one. Smashnez on the off angle, needs to give over that drone, but Ducky won. Overwhelmed once again, going up against that Wolverine. It's so difficult when you are the wooden creature. When even next want to fall on down, it's Wolver claiming all the space. The Wolfpack once again is riding forth, and low 9, they are setting a record time here on Central Park.
This is a really difficult part of the map too, to use the Kraken impact, as Knuten has to worry that he'll pump his head in the first aspect of third, and he's gonna swap now over towards that Iron Man, having all of the spam pressure as well as the team up nanotech from Smashnez, so that he can get that beam that damages and heals enemies and allies alike, as we can see him to start to farm those Loki clones towards the first maximum pulse.
All right, Lugia back on his main, as it were. That's going to be a big Aegis coming up. What a shield from Emma Frost. Ducky just forced to move away after using the Strangling Prison. Yancey Street Charge, that might be Ducky off the map right there from Jerky's play. Seems like they have managed to survive for now, but guess what? Lugia's claiming a bunch of space. The Repulsor Blast, too much to deal with. Zero tenacity. Investing the Rage of Ultron are rewarded for all of the dividends that they tried so early to purchase. It's a big investment, but Zero tenacity have got the most important commodity, and that's ability.
The investment of Strangling Prison not in coordination with the Iron Man ult, though. I wonder if they're going to use it to just try and lights out shut down this Kraken impact coming through from low 9, because you do have to worry. Eye of Agamotto Kraken impact is a lethal combination that Oasis might not be able to heal through, as Jerky's already gotten his hands on one, and that's the last stand when he's able to get the regeneration domain off in time, and Knuten is there on the other side. Armor Overdrive takes down 2, and low 9 have to back away.
Just floats there menacingly with the armor overdrive. Wolver's gonna have trouble getting back into spawn right here. Crisis needs to be avoided. Oh, Ducky's a little bit far away, must have been pinned off the map. Jerky with the perfect picture of the Wolverine. Has to be disengaged here. A lack, oh, hello around the back. Newton's cooking. Newton's cooked actually. Gonski grabs that one. Plenty of doppelgangers allow him to roll on through, but nano beam for DPS isn't great. You're hoping to try and heal instead. Lugia isolated inside the invisible boundary, but strategists had no idea where their Vanguard was.
Oh, that's devastating. Zero Tenacity losing Ducky 1, it was awful for them. They need the Strangling Prison combined with Knuten, and now Lernheim get the opportunity to split the two ultimates from coming on through just by potentially taking the group down early. Lugia jumps to Knuten to provide the armor. The maximum pulse comes through with the Strangling Prison, but it's shielded by low 9 and survived.
Only Lugia stunned out by that one. Nice blocking off of the hills coming through from Wolver. Heads up play to not be so greedy, but instead just to facilitate the frags as they come on through. Gonski in major danger. Smashnez unable to convert though. Crisis when it comes to aim. This guy is the one and only. And when he found that out the hard way in the midst of all of this, looking for a hook, Knuten manages to dodge around behind that pillar, but you need to get on to a point right now. Afflicted with the culling debuff. Lugia's going to have trouble surviving. Berserker Rage seems to have missed at the moment from Jerky. You just couldn't reposition Lugia. He's immune to all of that. A clobbering time in the back, but Lugia seems to be the only one who's been stunned in the midst of all of this. Maybe a carbon crush grabbed them out. Knuten with 2, but Vidalis grabbed by the invincible pulse cannon. And it seems like on this last point of Central Park, it's Zero Tenacity who are invincible.
Zero Tenacity just have so much map space. They've got all of the cover, plus their respawns are right there. Low 9 are slowly but surely chipping away at some of these ultimate economies, but with how much spam is available for this Ultron and the Iron Man, it feels like they're getting their ultimates up every second fight or so, and Knuten already is hovering above the doorframe, getting that damage, getting the accuracy markers that scouts out the position, and out comes the Armor Core Overdrive to slow the rotation down yet again and force the regen domain before Strangling Prison comes through.
Oh, the follow-up on the Strangling Prison from the Stone.
This was a good pivot by Z10.
Absolutely brutalizing over low 9 from 5 minutes of a time back, Mox. Only 45 seconds remain.
Wolver does have that strange teleport, but
Very good
Wolverine is
adaptation
saving it
by
for
them.
when it's at its most valuable, when they have the least amount of time. They're going to have to deal with Knuten coming on through with another invincible pulse, and it feels like this Armor Core Overdrive has been the thing that's allowed Zero Tenacity to come back into this fight. Yet again it comes on through, and low 9 pay Fate of both worlds just to pave that way.
Yeah, an exchange
We're looking
here
for
the Age
a
of Ultron. It's gonna be all about where
Iron Man
Connector decides
ult here.
to try and put this invincible pulse on and going up against
Huge.
the value, and yet Gonski and
Bomboclat.
Psylocke are nowhere to be seen.
Huge ult.
Reduced to atoms. Knuten grabbed from the sky, taken to the earth.
He's laughing.
Him into some meat within there.
He's laughing, bro. Got
His
so
hero
ulted.
tenacity holding for 5 minutes on third. Low 9 have their win condition.
Bro was
They must be
laughing at him.
disappointed with how that went.
Knuten just waits so patiently for the Anna Aegis to be placed. And from there, he just gets to utilize the AoE of the ultimate. You can finesse it. Even if there's a shield in the way, you can place your ultimate ever so slightly to the side of it or potentially behind it, and it will still be able to connect onto a player that, from their POV, they should be shielded from. Unfortunately, the second that Saint Motor places that Aegis, their fate is sealed, and back to the underworld they head.
Our hit skin spans? I mean, we have hella
Over the
open.
course of this series, many a frag between them. Knuten walking away with, I believe,
This
more
is, like,
final blows than the rest of their
impossible to
team
break.
combined. That's just what happens when you put all your resources into the Iron Man. The Knuten Avengers are rising up.
I mean, if
We're
you take
dumping
away the resources from
dumping
Smash, they just
Snowflake
get
and the
wrecked.
Ultron on top of the Iron Man, and this guy should
And
never
you
ever die.
everything that he could
And,
possibly want.
yeah, he's not
Low 9
dying,
were just
so.
never
They
able
should
to
be looking
find
at,
the
like,
Iron
Hela.
Man when we headed into third.
So
Jericho
Punisher's
could
banned, but they should be looking at like a
potentially
Hela or
be a problem for
something.
him to
Like they
deal
need a
with,
hit
but
scan.
that
Hela, Star
building
Lord.
on the last part of
I
just provides
don't know why
so
we're not
much
playing hit
cover for
scan.
the Iron Man to hold himself around that you don't even have to worry about lacking the Invis woman to be able to force physics, knock the Wolverine back from his connection. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Out comes Knuten in the Iron Man armor once
Yeah,
more.
I don't know what L9 is doing.
Tony Stark takes to the skies. The hero that Zero Tenacity needed.
I mean, like maybe like the Wolf gets a grab on Iron Man in the air. But we're not playing a hit scan, so it's gonna be very hard for them to really fight back. Yeah. I mean,
You were so worried about the duck, you didn't look at what was in the rest of the bathtub, and it was filled with danger. That bubble bath, it was acidic.
yeah.
Knuten's armor overdrive just buys so much space for Zero Tenacity to move off of the back of. Low 9 respect it, but run away back towards the point they go, and they funnel directly into one small hallway, which is an absolute
I don't understand why we're not playing a hit scan.
Off the first fight is already gonna have the first ultimate on the field.
During the armor overdrive, the heal from Renano being very effective at sustaining the Iron Man even when facing down 6. Crisis falls down
Yeah,
to a miscellaneous poke. Just the absolute
these guys are not swapping. I'm not sure what's going on.
Tenacity once again. Yet another invincible pulse cannon, good to go, making sure to break through that Guardian shield in advance. The Aegis is gone too. Oh, Pinkloin taken down.
Oh
before
my
everyone else
God.
could roll on through. Saint Tomoto unable to Aegis themselves, and while it was a valiant attempt from
Yeah, this does not look good. This was supposed to be like a close series. Why are we still not going to a hit scan?
Right now. Every single time there's a regen domain coming on from Gonski, out comes armor overdrive. And
Oh my God, we're just running them down in their spawn.
Disappear in the blink of an eye. And speaking about disappearing in the blink of an eye, Low 9 are caught out. Half of that team is still in the B spawn, which means the Zero Tenacity gets so much free payload distance.
Oh, they have to touch with the Winter Soldier ultimate. It's just not what they wanted from that, and there's no one else there to try and follow up thereafter. The remainder of Low 9 just have to
Why are we
stand
not
on
going
him,
to a
and
hit
now they
scan?
have to meet what Zero Tenacity did. A 6-minute hold on third to bring themselves into this series.
They've got invisible boundary, but Knuten has the one shot and Ducky won with the strangle.
Okay, now we decide to go a hit scan.
Utilize the Groot CC of the ultimate and bring them out of it. Someone's got to clear Knuten on this angle. Jericho's gonna go over to the Hela hit scan to try and take the flyer down.
About time.
His wings, but the hubris is going to be there. If they all walk out, then they don't know that the Iron Man's behind them. And here it is,
Oh.
maximum pulse.
Oh, I think Gonski Ray Reacted to that one in advance, sent in the doppelganger, raised up exactly what was needed with that crystal, and now it's down to Gonski. Great copy coming through. God of Mischief grabs the Lunar Ultimate, Fate of Both Worlds, a counter usage. Oh wow, use the wall right there to block out Lugia's counter ultimate. Want to use the clock ring time to stop any.
Everybody's pressing ultimate ability.
And still, Lugia going to be overwhelmed here, and that's all down to Gonski getting the angle that was needed to shut it down with the Fate of Both Worlds.
I mean, one fight win. That's how Zero Tenacity was able to claw their way through third for 5-minute hold. Low9 get that one fight that they needed. It's going to be so much harder now to maneuver the mechanical flyers into a position where Knuten can get away with all that he was in first and second. Jerky and Crisis are going to have immediate access to the health bars coming through from all of these secluded chokes.
These are going to be real difficult now for Lugia. Going up against the double poke of both a Hela and a Winter Soldier. Still a pocket going in onto Knut, and that forces out the regeneration domain from the Loki. And here comes the first of a Fate of Both Worlds, this time courtesy of Winnie. Maybe a way to try and shut this one down. You cannot heal through the environmental frags if they do come through, but Saint-Amodo's nowhere to be seen. An invincible pulse cannon raised up already. Oh, the goddess of death reigns above. And when Knuten falls low, Wolf is there to deliver at the final.
Nice.
And Crisis is creating a crisis of faith among Zero Tenacity. Two have already fallen down. Lugia gets a Yanzi Street charge frag of all things. And Ratatoska is moving forward, pounding with all 4 feet. The Vanguards are just doing it by themselves. They got an Ultron behind
Nice.
them. They got themselves the hold in place from a strangling prison from downtown. The invincible pulse cannon fails
Wow.
to hit pay dirt, but they will hit the mark.
That's
they
insane.
needed to. The Invisible Woman could not make it to the end, and 6 minutes was just too much to ask for. Low9 are down 2-0 in their elimination match.
It costs so much to keep an eye on Knuten that once that problem had been solved, nothing was left. There was an economic crisis.
I don't know
in terms
why
of
we took 12 years to swap to a hit
resources
scan.
that everyone had access to. Once Ducky and Lugia started really rolling on through, with the Groot and the Thing just frontline brawling into the space, still having strategists up as well to make sure that they had that area, that level of sustain to
I
continue
really
the momentum
understand
pushing on
that.
through. And that was such a fast take of first and second, and even though they got slowed down temporarily on third, they were able to come on through with the fights, utilizing Fate of Both Worlds to get an aggressive angle for Knuten and force Low9's hand into having to deal with the Iron Man immediately.
Oh, so difficult to try and deal with that. I'm like, honestly, finding those angles again and again. Respect Gonski being able to shut down that flank one with the doppelganger cast into the regeneration domain, just to make sure that all of that damage was converted into healing. Oh, that's what happened. Crisis body blocked it.
Yeah, he troopers fisted up so that he was able to absorb it.
Jackie must have been trying for a leap as well, with a feral leap to try and stun Knuten out of it, to be in the blast radius for that. Both duelists thought they had the hero moment, but it turned into Knuten just managing to take them both out at once.
Oh. And there too, the Emma Aegis just a little bit too far off of the ground so that the AoE splash can still find the connection onto the players beneath. And Zero Tenacity, we talked about it, right? The flexibility of this roster. You're gonna feel like you have them pinned down and give them like 2 minutes. They'll come up with an entirely new game plan, an entirely new composition, and all of a sudden you are flummoxed for 5 minutes where you're just scratching your head looking at the drawing board being like, what do we do into this, guys?
I mean, Luna is more and more commonly making the draft now as well and getting into a game, which means that we still haven't seen Knuten's patented pivot onto the Hawkeye with that Icy Arrow team up. So maybe that could come things get a little bit more complicated. Low9 keep throwing these new looks.
We needed a hit scan, and they waited until the last point to go hit scan.
Myself. But I think there's still so much
I
more to
don't understand.
Here. We're going to have a quick break, and then map number 3 is coming on the other side.
Out of sight. Judge, jury, executioner!
Are you watching this match, Rubber?
No, I just watched the VP one. I'm gonna watch it now. Is it bad?
And L9 just refused to swap to a hit scan.
Wait, why am I on 180 ping? What?
Interesting.
Going to stream? Or I'm streaming, but for my screen.
No, it's alright. I can share mine. I'm sort of catching up.
Penny's off angling.
I literally fell asleep. I fell asleep watching NA, and when I woke up, it was like I had the Twitch open. I fell asleep watching the NA broadcast, and all of a sudden I woke up to like Japanese people yelling in my ear, and it was the fucking Asia. I was like, what the hell? Sukoine. I was like, what? What's happening?
Punisher's top
Teams
right.
Teams are finally banning Punisher.
He's one, dead.
Alright.
I'm feeling real low right now after fumbling a 5-minute time bank on Central Park C, but they can still rise to new heights as this series is far from over, Mox.
True, but I mean, it's going to be a really tough time of it, right? Because we were talking in the break, you can't ban Zero Tenacity out of Iron Man, because then something else is able to get through. And if you give Canute and say Punisher or Smashner's Torch, then you're not going to have a fun time off of it either. And this is where Zero Tenacity's true strength has come through. Undeniable highest flexibility, I think, of one of the teams in the EMEA region, right? Doesn't matter if you ban them out of Vanguards, doesn't matter if you ban them out of Strategists, doesn't matter if you ban them out of Duelists, they always have a composition they can fall back onto.
Yeah, the flexibility is one of the main power points that Zero Tenacity have coming into any of these games. And like Newton, I think we can pretty much consider unbannable, which is why Smashnares often is catching the ban on the Human Torch, which I believe is Smash's best hero and one of the best heroes in general right now, despite receiving the nerfs. I just allowed Human Torch to start getting played.
Well, it's a Racco that Low9 are going to believe is
A
going to
Racco.
start letting them come back into this series. A reverse sweep is entirely possible, but it's definitely going to be off of a good ban draft system coming on through, as Emma is going to be the vanguard that both of these teams prioritize keeping in rotation, especially if we're going to be seeing
So Mirror,
circulating once more.
This is where we saw Low9
Mirror Magban.
slay Insomnia yesterday, and I believe Zero Tenacity
MS
actually
save.
will go
We're
to this
probably gonna
match.
look at
They
a
may,
strategist
be
or
able to
a
more in
DPS
theory
ban
than
here.
they do in
More
practice.
likely a
I don't
Loki
think they're
ban.
very tactically
Psylocke.
great on it.
It's fine.
Well, we saw them
Then
with
an
the
MS
solo
save, more than
Vanguard,
likely, of course.
all the way back on their first day of play.
MS
The
save.
great
This is
stage
probably
as
gonna be
well.
a
We got two
strategist
triple
ban,
tiers
possibly.
composition.
It might be a
For-
torch ban
from
though
their
too.
side with Lugia on the Wolverine,
This is
given
a
the
good
fact
torch
that
map.
Magneto and Invis were all
Punisher map,
actually
Hello
removed
map.
from Blood Caryudo
Go the
in
Ultron
terms of
ban
that
to
pick and
enable
ban
the
draft system.
extra
So it's
flyers
definitely gonna
with
be
the
something
Iron Man
Low9
team
have
up
to be cognizant
and the
of as a
torch.
potential pop-up.
We are getting the torch ban too though,
This
but
was
we're also
actually
getting the
protecting
Punisher ban. This
their
opens up
Emma
the
first
avenue
here,
for
both
like
teams opting into that one. And just
for
removing
Z10
Crysis' opportunity
or
to
Zero
pivot
Tenacity to
over
be
onto that
playing
Punisher. I think it's always
Punisher.
gonna be a smart ban
You're
against
gonna have
Low9,
to
given what
ban the
Crysis can
Punisher, the
achieve
mirror.
on that one.
because you don't want to deal with the Punisher.
Oh, we actually see an Ultron ban as
We're
well.
gonna save Punisher, so this is kind of bad for L9.
Iron Man as well, which you don't really want to waste a ban on because it's too much of a pocket strat to invest in.
Well, when Smash Naz gets rid of Torch, he pivots onto the Ultron.
When I look at
Tends
this,
to be how Zero Tenacity
when I look at this, Zero Tenacity has one draft. Because we have this. There's no mag in the game, and we have Punisher. So this is very scary.
Not going to be going on to the Iron Man in the slightest when you have a Premier Duelist pick like that coming on through. And more importantly as well, Cloak and Dagger has been able to make it through for Zero Tenacity side
Loki
too,
banned.
given the fact that Low9 put so much stock into double banning against Smash Naz instead.
However,
He is.
Gonski being able to get away with a Loki, that is a huge asset to Low9 whenever Gonski is a fantastic Loki player.
Yeah, Loki's good here, but
The Gonski Loki. And it's time for it to deliver. The investment of the Protect, the hero Low9
We ban Luna.
to rescue their series, the God of Mischief.
We could actually see the Squirrel Girl come through for Zero Tenacity. This is a strategy that has been popularized. A couple of teams have run it for
Yeah, Z10's
multiple
comp
regions,
looks good.
actually, on the attacking rounds of Araka, where you take advantage of all of the narrow hallways and the projectile bounce, the ricochet off of all of those projectiles coming on through from Doreen to be able to incredibly quickly build up that Squirrel tsunami that just stampedes through a defense that is too static.
I mean, question is, if we do see double Squirrel Girls, is anyone going to be using Orion's Lancaster Bomber Crosshair?
Oh, please, no. You know, that clip actually went viral.
Oh, wow. I was unaware of that.
I was minding my own business the other day, just having a fun time of watching Marvel Rivals content, and all of a sudden I get flashbanged by Orion's Crosshair coming on through. I'm just like, no. Potentially we see it from the attacking side. The defense might also go
What is
for
that
it just to
crosshair?
have a little bit of a pressure on a regroup situation from the attackers, but it's much more commonly seen on the attacking side with the defenders preferring for a spawn camp composition, more vanguards in the mix to stall things out.
yeah, we're not doing goats, which is
Alright,
surprising.
Smash
We
Naz
do
gonna
have
run over
the
here on to
Storm Wolf
just to get some
Bucky
value
because
out
they
of this.
probably assumed that they were gonna go
And of
for
course, Lugia,
a goats
well
comp,
done.
but they're
We've
not.
never seen Wolver play the Storm once again. We actually saw this yesterday in conjunction with the Johnny Storm to try and combine their ultimates, but we're not actually seeing the setup from the Human Torch just yet. A three-person fly-through here.
And the Moore
to
is
try
kind
and
of out of
force Smash
position.
Naz out, already having used the Blessing of the Deep. It's Gonski from the other side, the crossfire of those magic missiles that takes down the Namor.
Yeah, the one-sided storm too, so you have that tempo push. You can outplay your opponent with sheer damage and speed alone. As
Nice.
Jerky gets the better of Knuten, sending him off of that map, and with Punisher down, Zero Tenacity's chances of winning this fight go down exponentially to the point that they're just going to try and disengage and stabilize.
Yeah, maybe there's a world here where Zero Tenacity have to try and pivot to take advantage of Saint Samosa
Nice,
being that
very good
solo
stabilize.
vanguard, but it certainly is a little bit easier to do that with Lugia in the bag, distracting all of your strategists. Crisis' disengagement. Oh, the Trooper's Fist actually gets him knocked down, unfortunately.
Very good stabilize.
He does get kind of martyrdom there by Jerky, so that's going to be a slight opening.
Trade for trade, but Zero Tenacity with Smash Naz on this Psylocke now have a lot of mobility to put pressure onto the backline of Low9. As Wolver off of that storm, they use it to break the first corner. Now it goes over to the Doctor Strange, so that you
So instead of
have
Cap,
one
they are
extra
doing a
vanguard,
Hulk
one extra
Psylocke
shield.
dive, which is
Try and
fine.
give your team a little bit of survivability against Knuten, who's going to be coming on through with the final judgment. And it's going to be off of the back of that Eternal Bond from Oasis
The
too.
runes.
Smash Naz tickles at the back, gets the unbreakable barrier from the Hulk as well. Moving forward now with the Eternal Bond, I believe it has actually fallen down off of the high ground, so Crisis needs to be careful where they're going. Inflicted with the Terror Cape temporarily, but the damage isn't really delivered. All
Emma's
eyes now
kind of
on
in a
Bucky
bad
in the front
position.
line. Oh, and that's going to be the Culling Aura. Getting all that it needs to try and reset this one.
Nice.
Has to go back inside the invisible boundary, but it's broken down. Pink
Wait,
Clone
what?
was destroyed in the midst of all of this. Yeah, Jerky once again has gotten Lugia off the map.
Nice.
Has been absolutely lights out when it comes to these environmental frags, but still Low9 off a massive investment can't get the car progress.
Yeah, Crisis is a little bit of an internal crisis of his own. Rounds the corner with Kraken Impact, and Knuten's up on the culling turret, and he just goes, nope, and tries to go back to his team, but gets taken
Very good by
down
Smash.
in the interim, with Knuten not even needing to utilize the final judgment. It was also a copied Eternal Bond coming on for a double up from both Oasis and Winnie, so final judgment now is going to have to come alone off of just space provided by the Vanguards.
Nice.
And Ducky 1 and Lugia are providing ample room right now.
Very good Iva Wolver.
But that allows Wolver to come on through with a huge Eye of Agamotto, claiming both of the back line.
Yes, done both the strategists there. Oasis and Winnie both full. Smashners with only 138 HP to work with. Is just going to have to watch Lugia's nubile form be destroyed. A force physics from pink clones, the final hit they were looking for, and finally Low 9 get the opening. And once again, when you need a hero, look to the leader of the wolf pack, look to the west and listen for the howl.
Yeah, Wolver with the Maelstrom of Madness follow through is the thing that allows Low
Yeah,
9
what
to
is
finally
Knut?
break first. They still have to worry though about this final judgment, which has been delayed and delayed a little bit further as Knuten goes off the map.
He should have instantly jumped off.
Unfortunate. Is going to mean that Zeratan has to give up a huge amount of space here. Early attempt at a Sonic seduction. Almost going to grab in Ducky, who was controlled first by Jerky.
Yeah, the Punisher should have instantly jumped off.
Herself. And it hasn't been great progress on the floor of Colossus thus far, but moving through these chokes is going to be very difficult for Zeratanasti now.
No one's pushing the carts though.
Something like a final judgment.
I mean, they've got to worry about that Eternal Bond copy that Gonski has to be able to secure. Zeratanasti finally line up the final judgment, but Winnie's getting pressured. There comes the copy, God of Mischief from Winnie.
cart's so far, no one was pushing it.
The final judgment puts the pressure onto Low 9 as they all try and fall back, disengage into the safety of Invis boundary. And though the Terror Cape did come through, the regen domain keeps everyone healed through. And now Kraken Impact turns.
Yeah, I don't think we walk in there. I think we just kite the Invis
Oh, it's a perfect bait and switch from Low 9. And now Jerky's just going to be the final note in this song. However, it's not a happy
I think the
song
play is
for
the kite
Zeratanasti.
at the end
They
result
invested
there.
so much having to go forward, and that all came down to Crisis getting that early poke as well. Now TPing back is Knuten. Needs this last second contest onto the floor of Colossus, stopping B from being finished that early. They're moving forward though, with an Eternal Bond coming through, so there's plenty of staying power has already been taken down. Sentient seized and thereafter punished. A Terror Cape is going to mean plenty of damage to try and work with Knuten. Sees Smashness fall before them, and it's going to be difficult to try and survive this one. Just floats away with the cloak of levitation. Lugia has arrived with the clobbering time. Stuns out two, but Gonski's able to survive.
Nice.
Their own regeneration domain. Crisis falls through the cracks, however, when everyone's busy thinking about peeling for themselves, that's when everything can start to fall apart. Both of the strategists seduced by the White Queen. Ducky gets the value they were so desperate to try and find.
Clobbering time from Lugia, uproots Low 9, Psionic Seduction catches them, not quite securely as they fall. It's into a pit of danger that Zeratanasti are in full control of, but Knuten now onto the Doctor Strange because of that teleport is not going to be that for the Punisher. So all of the damage is going to come through from this Eye of Agamotto, which Saint Tomoto can shut down. Zeratanasti have to respect the win condition. Low 9 are in control of Eye of Agamotto. Last Stand as well as Kraken Impact can all finish off the fight.
Rolling forward once again with the God of Mischief providing the addition. Oh, Oasis grabbed out of the Eternal Bond. It wasn't the caster of the ultimate though, so it is still available. Three-person Eye of Agamotto
Nice.
from Knuten. Not just a duelist, can deliver on the Strange as well. And his delivery certainly was found here. Gonski is going to be staggered on the other side. Ducky walking up with a 100 charged beam.
Oh, they're just camping the spawn. If it's the Strange TP, it's Jerky having to go over towards the Spider-Man so he can physically get into position and touch. They think better of it. They put Saint Tomoto onto the Venom instead, as overtime will indeed activate. But Low 9 haven't been able to pull off the portal.
Oh, Lugia as they come on through. Just able to do so much damage with a stone
Missed the
haymakers.
touch, at
Knuten
least.
Return to Vanguard duties in front of all of this. Surely you can't survive. Oh, Crisis rolls on up with this. Now needs Smash there.
Uh-oh.
They can start to follow up. Crisis! Is he him? He very well could be. Another reset going after Gonski alongside the Venom. And I'm having a crisis of faith right now. Zeratanasti, look, they had it in the bag.
I think they
can't
overcommitted
TP
to
back.
that.
Oh, Crisis! He is him!
Lucky Bonds incarnate Crisis proves to be. bails Low9 out of such a rough situation. As Zero Tenacity
Yeah, they could have overextended there. Why are we on Moonknight?
Wand is out from Oasis, but the doppelgangers are still up, and Knuten goes over to the Moonknight. I mean, you've got Loki doppelgangers. Low9 are playing so stacked up. You should be able to build Hand of Conchu almost immediately. He's already 80% to the ult.
275 HP, baby. The buffs have come on through. We got the survivability. We got the ult to play with. Lugia grabbed. Crisis already punished.
Nice ults.
Here comes the Hand of Conchu raining down upon Low9, and the damage is easy to follow.
I mean, it's good to like really spread them out.
Jerky gonna be the next one to fall, but there's still
Like
40
sometimes
seconds
it's
to play
not
with.
terrible going for that.
Momentum. Low9 are backed up all the way to their spawn. They've lost control of so much space. Crisis is going to have the ultimate Kraken impact, yes, but Zero Tenacity
We're in
have
Hella
room
now?
to be able to disengage it now.
And they have so much safety up here on this bridge as well. Gonna take so many resources from Low9 to try and remove them from it, so we swap over onto the long-range poke instead. Jerky moving on to the Hella Smash, and it's caught out a touch too early. A big
Again, they're
crush
overextending.
laid elsewhere, and Wolver manages to find Ducky when they're in the midst of the enemy team. This might be an overinvestment here, though. Oh, that's a big clobbering time. 5 stuns from Lugia. That's why he's the GOAT, baby. But the follow-up's not there. The walls are brought up. Oasis is stuck against the Thorn Lash walls, and will be able to take some damage from the Eternal Bond that was laying on out. Zero Tenacity going to be forced to run elsewhere.
Knuten does
What's up,
have
everybody?
Hand of Conchu. Compare it up. It's just one fight that Zero Tenacity need to win if they invest it all, but the staggers are brutal. Lugia goes down. Low9 now take possession of the high ground. Knuten hides, plays invis, doesn't want to get scouted on.
He has ult
out
again.
because
I mean,
he's the win
we're
condition.
playing for
If they
Moonknight ult to like
all
push, like
invest,
force
that's
them
the
off of the
bottom
cart,
line.
and
Hand
if
of
they
Conchu
it's
and
overtime, and if
Psylocke
they
at the
stay, they will
same
die
time
to
on the
the
objective itself.
Moonknight ultimate. I mean, it's not a terrible play, but it's like
Overwhelming
that's you're
firepower.
relying on. That's what
Ziggs
you're
have
relying
in
on.
their back pocket is what they need to deploy. Lugia already going up against 100 charge. Emma Beam Wolver's fallen down. Smash there's in the back. Sonic seduction drops on from behind. That's going to be the dance of the butterflies. The Hand of
Nice.
Conchu. The
Very good.
overwhelming alpha strike for Zero Tenacity were waiting for. They crunched from both sides, and Low9 are turning to diamonds under the pressure.
Zero Tenacity, just like we were seeing in previous days, where teams identify that Loki doppelgangers are going to give a huge advantage to Winter Soldier's resets on Kraken Impact. Kanuten's like, wait a minute, my unks are gonna bounce permanently. For Low9's players, he builds those Hand of Conchus up so quickly, and then they have such a good grasp of where to take that last fight too. It's in such a small space, so every single player who's trying to keep themselves on that objective is taking damage from the Psionic Seduction, the silence as well, making sure that they can't hit their abilities. Dance of the Butterflies manages to punish the fact that they all tried to stack up and hide behind the Aegis coming on through, and then off of
Very
the back
good.
of that, Hand of Conch is going to be doing so much damage too because all of the players are there. Throw an Ankh in, grab them all into one place. Zero Tenacity just needed one fight.
Very
And
good, very
the
good.
second that the swaps came through, they were setting up to take it.
Yeah, great heads-up play from Knuten. A hero we rarely see. The Moonknight did receive a recent buff, but I still don't think it's enough to make them a mainstay. Zero Tenacity now have their win condition. They can walk away into a series against Virtus Pro if only they can capture 2 points and 97 meters.
Yeah, you can see Zero Tenacity, they're thinking it's going to be a stacked spawn hold once more. That's why we've got the Squirrel Girl and the Moonknight. Low9 not going to be playing into the overloaded Vanguard composition, but Smashness remains on the Squirrel Girl regardless. Knuten seeing, okay, they're playing a little bit too split. Over to the Punisher I go. Definitely the better duelist with the better ultimate cycle, given the fact that Oasis and Winnie are both going to be able to pocket him.
Yeah, a little less vulnerable to a Captain America as well, as you can just roll out the adjudication shotgun if you need it. Ducky up to 100 charge. Now he's going to be a bit of a demon to try and deal with. We love seeing Lugia over on this Wolverine. Crisis hates to see the Squirrel Girl though. It's a little bit cheesy, but can you argue with results for Nuts Strike Home?
Can you argue with the fact that Smashness is 9% off the first ultimate? Give it half a second and he'll have it up. There it goes. They still haven't sent it out as everyone from Low9 pulls back and disengages. Regen domain used to make sure that Wolver is able to get back to the team safely. And there goes the tsunami. And the ripple effect is going to be that payload gets so much freedom of space.
Yeah, Luna have to give up a little bit of space
Very
there
good to
try and
keep
deal with the unbeatable
playing the
Squirrel
high
scenario.
ground.
It's Ducky's turn to roll on forward here. Canusa's already fallen on down though. Before the Eternal Bond even came out, Oasis has to be careful about getting grabbed out of their AoE, and that's going to be an invisible boundary wrapped up here by Pinklone to try and stop the forward progress. And it seems that Low 9, their investments are being rewarded. A beautiful headshot from Crisis, getting the final hit when it was most needed.
Yeah, Crisis.
Revenge.
Just going for the troopers first, getting immediately into Smashnez's face. Squirrel Girl shenanigans have seen through it, got value. It's last fight on first now, and over towards the Gamma we go. Lugia on the Hulk, Smashnez the Namor, so that they can play counter to Saint Tomoto when he tries to dive onto that objective, or potentially counterplay into the backline. And Smashnez takes the TP and directly takes the fight to Steve Rogers himself. You can't do that all day when Smashnez and Lugia are directly on top of you. But Gonski says farewell, goodbye to Zero Tenacity's two strategists. The backline disappears.
Yeah, your backline's Gonski. Unreal. Must just have a huge setup here with 3 doppelgangers lying for 120 damage per shot.
That's actually crazy. He did that with no damage burst either. Because they're not running the CP.
We lose our backline.
The Mantis. So Zero Tenacity say, okay, take 2, same angle of approach. The XL on to the Captain America is strong, but it's Knuten that goes down still.
And your tanks, your strategists are just in a very bad
position. Anyone rounds a corner, they're instantly decimated, be it by Gonski's array of doppelgangers, and that's going to be a big investment here from Jerky already. Using the Rage of Ultron to try and make sure that this high ground can be claimed. Oh, and Smashnez is the final one to fall, and Zero Tenacity for running low on time.
Yeah, Knuten is going to have final judgment, but they just haven't been given the space to breathe. The Punisher is either picked or the strategists behind him. Luna really making full advantage of the defensive favor that Arako falls into after that first fight is done. Smashnez and Lugia still trying to find this off angle so that the rest of the core can walk forward a little bit safer as Ducky 1 goes out to pressure the Captain America. Psionic Seduction though comes on through from Low 9 side to shut down any resources that can go Knuten's way. Final judgment is shut down immediately.
It's Gonski again, now to a back. Saint Tomoto knows that there can be no survivors.
So unlucky.
Crisis won't even let them reset. Instead,
oh no,
the constant boops.
Oh no,
they're pushing via the attempt of a Trooper's Fist. They just do not let Lugia go reset. 18 seconds remain, Nox.
Oasis is going to have Eternal Bond, but Crisis on that Winter Soldier can grab you out of your ultimate regardless. It's going to have to be a hero's moment coming on from Zero Tenacity, but for Low 9, Crisis has been what they've turned to the most, and he's got his ult too.
Already, regeneration domains have been used over here. In comes the Horn of Proteus. Seems like the damage hasn't been done. Crisis managed to survive through it all. Invisible boundary drawn on up. It's a big investment from Zero Tenacity. It had to be. There are no second chances. There are no extra rounds. Crisis afflicts multiple players with a culling debuff off the back of the Kraken impact. But Lugia is searching for victims. Going after Steve Rogers. The Hulk begins to smash.
Nice.
Pinklone turned into a pin cushion by Smashnez. But Crisis is still going. It's a crisis of faith. It's a crisis on Arako. It's a crisis of the Flora Colossus, but there's no crisis on deck for Low 9. It's all about the accuracy, the overwhelming power. Buckerthan Barnes has delivered again.
Buckle up, we go another round. Low 9 deliver on Arako and stop the series before it becomes a 3-0. What a convoy map, and I mean, if you're Zero Tenacity, surely that's going to hurt some momentum, because you really did feel like you had a full handle of this team, and then Gonski and Crisis just said we got our best heroes and we say no.
Yeah.
All right, for Low 9, the effort, the perseverance for learning, it's starting to pay off, and it seems like for now what is really paying dividends is banning out both the Ultron and the Human Torch, getting rid of the flyer options for Zero Tenacity when it comes to a ground battle. If you're just looking Crisis in the eyes, that's where Crisis is at their most powerful.
Yeah, and I mean, if you manage to force Smashnez onto the Psylocke, Gonski's got the Loki. you really don't have to worry about that duelist if you're a Loki player, because you can mitigate the ult, you can mitigate the original pressure that Psylocke can output as well just by devious exchange. Psylocke thinks that she's taking the Loki down, and surprise, all of a sudden you're in a different position in space entirely, as Crisis really was just absolutely popping off. The Winter Soldier, the ultimates, they were so strong. This moment here, where Low 9 were able to come on through in overtime with just reset after reset, even through the Eternal Bond, coming out from Oasis, being able to secure those picks. Though that being said, since it was a full hold, second and third were entirely unnecessary, just additional flair for Low 9 to flex how strong this team truly can be.
Absolutely true. While we're glazing on Crisis like some Dunkin' Donuts employees, I've got to say, I think that Crisis, from what I've seen, might have one of the best mental maps. Like the mini map in his brain of what's going on in these fights, of one of all players I've seen, like often knows exactly where to pivot to get to their next target, how low they'll be. I don't know if that comes down to Low 9 having like excellent dissemination of information, but Crisis's awareness of just where everyone is standing at all times is second to none.
Yeah, even when we were seeing like some really smart min-max plays come through where he would utilize Trooper's Fist, not just to be able to connect onto his target, but make sure that the momentum carried him over a health pack too, so that he would gain that extra sustainability. Because like that, there's one fight on first where Crisis is going for Kraken Impact, and Smashness has finally been able to find the flank that he's been looking to confirm with Lugia. And the Namor is popping off and just finding pick after pick, but Crisis's ultimate is still going on, and Smashness is draining all of the resources. The backline is fully disintegrated, but still Crisis is able to keep himself alive off of the fact that Winter Soldier is self-sustaining. Even if he doesn't have LOS off his strategists, hey, every time you hit your abilities, even if you don't hit them, you've suddenly got shields.
Yeah, you got a little bit of bonus life, a little bit more sustainability, and Low 9 continue to sustain themselves in this series off of the Winter Soldier. We'll see if they've cracked the code for Zero Tenacity right after this break.
A gift from Khonshu. The moon haunts you. Not bad, eh, Khonshu?
back, baby.
Remember the dusk, the lights gripping tightly, trapping.
Low9 have made their first steps towards breaking out of this match point that Zero Tenacity have against them in our elimination rounds here, Mox. Only one of these teams can continue in Marvel Rivals Ignite, EMEA.
And I'm not sure if some of those hero picks are going to be continuing as we head into the next ban draft system, as it definitely feels like Low9 have cracked the code that is Zero Tenacity, even though we see so much versatility come through from them. If you double target out Smashness of both the Torch and the Ultron and force him over to the Psylocke, and you can still secure the Loki, it's definitely made a lot easier. So I don't see Zero Tenacity allowing the Asgardian through this time around.
Yeah, it really feels like the target banning on Smashness, like target banning on Knuten can be a little bit of a fool's errand whenever Lugi is incredibly flexible as well. So maybe you look towards one of the players who has like a really good Human Torch, which is often delivering absolute unbelievable value. Because as we talked about during the previous ban phase, it also indirectly reduces
for a Lunar Snow, but Gonski's Loki just being able to dispatch every single flank potential coming on through was invaluable to Low9 being able to hold on to that second corner when we headed into their defense on Iraq.
My internet is dying.
Attack is favored given the fact that the defenders have to fight on a decline. That slope is not fun to fight around. So a lot of the time the defending team will just sort of exchange cosmetic blows before they pull back to a more favorable position. And around the second corner is where we see that payload have a little bit more problems rounding.
Well, the good news is for Zero Tenacity, they have lost their first map at the map pool reset, so they will be able to choose whatever map type they like. Maybe we'll get a symbiotic surface as we head into wherever Zero Tenacity have chosen to take us. They will also have gotten to choose their ban order as well, so maybe they can make an early play to remove that Loki, as you mentioned.
Potentially also make an early save onto Smashness's composition, because I feel like if you go for an early save onto the Human Torch, as we've talked about, Zero Tenacity's all of their players very, very flexible. You can't ban them out of Vanguards, you can't fully ban them out of Strategists, and Knuten will play pretty much everything. I believe he's played a total of 11 heroes, potentially even more by my last count coming on from his side of things. So I would definitely see a Human Torch save being very valuable for Zero Tenacity.
Krakoa is going to be the choice of Zero Tenacity, taking us back to a domination. And now you've got to once again potentially worry about Saint-Amoto on the Captain America.
For a Lunar ban, or potentially you target out a res comp strategy.
Yeah. Or you try and make sure there isn't like a Punisher gradient. But seems like Crisis is very comfortable just playing on the Winter Soldier for now. That could actually be the last ban.
Has been the standout for sure, but no. It's going to be... Ooh, they thought about the Wolverine, which means that we're probably going to be seeing Groot come through from Ducky1 at some instant on one of these rounds, but that does free up Crisis for the Winter Soldier once more.
Yep, the Winter Soldier is
not really sure what's going on, man.
That he gets to put into the mix, and he's been playing it for a very long time too, so he's definitely going to be bringing the damage to the sides of that one. So too is Knuten. His Adam Warlock stats have been through the roof the last couple of times that we've been able to see Zero Tenacity on the res comp in the likes of Hall of Dajalia in the past.
You can go to live now.
Value. I did have my doubts about the viability of the res comp yesterday, although I am a noted res comp hater. And
I heard from Dustin that you and he are both against this composition.
Yeah, I just think that they don't. Usually they don't do enough damage. Smashness being on the Punisher though is gonna really change the vibe of that, because Punisher just pushes out so much damage.
Yeah, and you don't need to be very forward in your positioning either. If you have a start with a
I think
Magneto,
we're
your
back.
start is always going to be inside the enemy team. Smashness is not going to be inside the enemy team, but he's actually going to be at the forefront of their minds, thinking about them right now, as that strange portal has allowed him to take center.
Wait, is that Tanner doing res comp with Punisher? The idea that we cooked up?
Far faster than they can be built.
Oh yeah, they are going to be broken. Too sweet as they approach.
Yeah.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man.
Actually, has to use the carbon crush to
I
try and
like it.
escape an ambush right there, so that's going to be...
I think the risk comes to more with anything.
Going to be seen. Oh my goodness, Canute's
I think you just swap Adam for Ultron here as well.
Shooting
It's
the
better.
Karmic Revival Oasis
Yeah, I don't think you need
exactly.
Mantis.
They're just overwhelmed here. You know what?
No,
Let's
you need
go
the Mantis
for
with damage
it.
boost, but I think you just put...
This one
You don't need
to
Adam.
Crisis here
What?
gets 60% to the first crack and impact off of how stacks here. It's now see we're playing. It
But
was a
then you don't get the res comp.
Yeah, but
aggressive cooldown
yeah, but then
push,
it's
traded with a regeneration
yeah, but you're not playing
melee
Rescom really. You're playing triple
wave,
support
has already got
with the
double
Punisher.
mischief.
You don't have a Star Lord, so
Like Gonski's just the guy. My
Yeah.
God of mischief. Like,
I mean, if you're not running the Adam, there's no.
you
I
know,
mean, Mantis is kinda like-
potentially just a shapeshifted actual Loki.
I think it'll still
We
be
did say
good.
that we were anticipating a Loki ban coming through at some point, as Lugia on that Wolverine is going to be looking to grab out Saint and Moto. The Anna gets the diamond form though.
You just
It gets
played
the
pocket
kill
the
to avoid being
Yeah,
isolated by
Punisher.
the group.
Punisher.
Nice.
You're not playing for the reses, you're playing for like really long sustained damage.
Overwhelmed here, the damage that
Not
comes through
terrible.
from that Punisher is not to be underestimated. A solo ultimate coming through
Yeah.
from Lugia tries to isolate one of these support, one of these strategists. Indeed, it is Pinklo who's isolated at this moment. Smashnez needs all the support in the world to try and shut down.
Maybe Adam is better because you get the Soul Link, don't you? But
Thereafter, though, there could be an attempted Karmic Revival. No, Canute's still 30% away from it. Just hasn't been able to.
but so is Ultron ult as well, and so is this drone. I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
all
Lee
good.
doing a good job of utilizing the psionic vortex, sending it
Vince.
right into the regeneration domain AoE field for Gonski, so that they're forced to play outside of it and allow Newton to come on through with the pick. Karmic Revival will finally have been built up, but you do have to worry about Jerky coming on through with a last
my heal's
stand
dead.
to
Oh,
be
no.
able to homing beacon in on the position of the Raz.
Make it to Eternity Rubber?
No, I've not played much this week. Might play some today, but probably not.
Too late to respond to this one. And while Lugia may well have been able to pin Saint Omoto inside the invisible boundary, quick flick into diamond form, and she just.
I'm playing on my ult a lot. My ult is nearly Celestial 2 as well.
Crisis, an uncharacteristic couple of misses there on the hook onto Lugia, and still Ducky believes that it's turnable, and they might well be right. Lugia with a huge investment, and then quickly ducks away through the teleport. Will be able to come back again once more. Didn't expect a second round of Wolverine, did ya? And Gonski now is in major
My hook-
danger as
hook,
the
um,
Berserk state slices
My hook
through the God of
hit
Truth.
a mine
I mean,
midair.
Zerg's nasty, even if they lose this fight, they're more than happy for it to run long, considering they're in control of the point right now. And it was still turnable too, given the fact that
I don't know what to
has
play.
the Karmic Revival in the back pocket.
Can't
He
even
doesn't have
ult.
the cocoon state though, it was burned in the fight before, so if he goes down mid-cast of the ultimate, that effect will run its course entirely. As Low9 have been holding, other than Strangling Prison, they didn't contribute any ultimates in the fight prior. They know that this next one, the Karmic Revival fight, is
I think it'll be really funny.
I
wanna make a video where I just, like, find out Mantis like sleep lineups across map,
Oh, that's a big
hit certain spots. I don't know why. I think this is hilarious.
disagrees. Grabbing themselves too.
Or he plays too much CS.
No, I think it'd be. Imagine like you have a like Widow Mantis, you see where they're playing at, and you go for a cross map sleep. Widow just headshots the person. I think that would be hilarious. Also, I saw Crazy Raccoons play. They should have won, but this guy decides to go Widow on attack on Bast. And they just get full health. Like, the Widow was attacking. They got full health because they were on Widow, and they got reverse swept because of that one match. It was so sad.
Which means that he's not there with the rest of his team for Soul Bond.
It's okay. Distractionary measures. Out comes the final judgment here from Smashnez. Instantly taking down Jerky, punishing them for a feral leap gone astray. And it's the Venn diagram of violence that's been raised here. Lugia go. That's a massive last stand. 3 players dragged into the air and 3 players slain thereafter. Lugia vanquishes Low9 and says, "You will not chase down my Canutin."
Surge Nasty should be able to take this round, and indeed, there it is. But it looked close.
see what I meant about like on the Central Park map?
Just being able to stall out those fights for as long
Yeah.
as
They
did.
refuse to play a hit skin.
So if they went Heather, it would have just been free probably.
The point percentage too far against them for a strange
I
portal
don't know
where you can
what
just
they were thinking.
to potentially flip the script. As
Like
we
the
head
wolf
to
was
the
doing
second
nothing.
round, Wolver actually is gonna
Even the Bucky was, like,
sacrifice
doing
an
nothing.
entire charge via Agamotto to go over to that storm.
Oh my
God, how's
so
that
we
man
can
not
have
there?
very
He's not a
good
hit scanner,
potential.
right?
More resources
little harder.
sent over to Crysis's side.
They just went like double hit scan.
Yeah, I think
I
Bucky's just too good into Groot,
Mm.
to be honest.
I
I think you keep one of them, but you
I think
I
you're
guess
like,
you could do
you
either
swap.
or.
No, you swap.
Yeah, maybe.
Guy-
Well, the Bucky was like, I'm getting value because his stats were quite good, to be fair.
And potentially the Hela too, as I think.
The Wolf's
Zero
like, yo, I'm
Tenacity
getting
just
value
put
too, bro. That's
someone onto that one too, as I saw her
Yeah.
pop up for a mere moment. And that is going to make it particularly difficult for the Storm, who, unlike the Torch, doesn't really have freedom of movement up in that sky. But if you can win the first fight and have tempo up against Zero Tenacity, if Knudden uses Soul Bond aggressively, you can try and match
What
it
is
with the
Mantis'
Goddess boost
damage boost
from
number?
low 9 side.
All right, two solo vanguards just going to be
It's
the
like
Emma
15.
Frost. Wolver just wants to be off of that group. They're so
Yeah,
vulnerable to getting bullied
that
by
sounds
the
right.
Wolverine and feeding over charge towards that last stand as well. You can see what Jerky actually is lurking underneath at the moment. I believe the Feral Leaps have
Kid
gone
now.
right. That's a huge
Oh my
pull over
God.
onto
Oh my
Knudden.
God.
But I think that Lugia may have actually run into
Oh my
something.
God.
Might have to give their
What
life
the
for
fuck
it,
going
though.
on,
Already
Magik?
has had
Allied inspiration grants 12% damage boost on her targeted ally.
great accuracy. Still the Karmic Revival ready to go instantly. Just
pretty good.
on the point.
Wow.
Not worried at all about this. Lugia isolated.
That's pretty
Gets
good.
grabbed, I believe, by Jerky.
think
But this was so
Storm
much from Oasis, which just gives sustainability
Gives more.
necessary.
That her
Yeah,
when she
and
empowers
Yes,
it.
Storm does. Yeah, she does.
And walk onto the players of low 9 Crisis. They
I
were
don't think
trying
it's-
to care for that Winter Soldier.
think they changed
so that
it.
he had the confidence to go for Kraken Impact, but it was not to
It used to be like 20, I
Over
think,
and
and it went
Zero
down to
Tenacity just
16.
run over the rest
It was
of
20
low
and then it went
9
down to 16.
Afterwards, we've got Mega
8%
Hurricane, we've
base
got
and
Kraken
then
Impact,
16 when you press
but
it.
low 9 have to
It's not right.
walk
This
into
is
a
40%.
setup
What
Punisher,
the hell?
and they have to clear the angle
40.
that Lugia
Yeah,
is
this
gonna
is
be
not
putting this
right.
Wolverine off of. And
Fuck
easier
me.
said than done.
Luna is 14.
Yeah, Luna's 40.
Or Luna. I think it's still 14.
It's- That hasn't been touched since she came out.
The 40%
Oh, the
back check
triage
is
of Adam is also
crazy.
so good for allowing your Wolverine to survive off those disengaged.
Ah!
Live stream that is
I opened a Marvel Rivals website and got nuked by the audio.
Final judgment activated by Smash. There's inside the invisible boundary. A last stand is helping elsewhere as well. That's down to Lugia. Go, and you better be.
How did my-
Clones were victim of that one. Zero Tenacity is 60% towards claiming their spot against Virtus Pro later on.
Oh, they're pushing for more. There's the Storm. Does smash us. Oh, he absolutely does. He full sends it.
Punisher
Jerky is
res comp
forced
is
to just
working.
run out, and that sends
Name.
him directly into the crosshairs of Oasis, who just scoops
fucking
him up
way.
with the Mantis
Damage
primary.
boost to
And that
allies is
a
10%.
brutal stagger. Low 9. They've got ultimates, but it feels like they've never got the space to fully use one.
What, Storm?
Damage boost to allies when she enhances is 12%.
That live stream on Lugia gives him so much sustainability for now, and the culling turret just does so
So I remember
much.
it's like way too strong.
They've already made Low 9 give up on taking this area even to begin with. One last fight for Low 9 to stay
10,
alive in
like,
Ignite,
passively.
and Jerky's still
I'm pretty
waiting
sure it's
for
8
their
though. I don't think the numbers are
But
right.
that's to herself. She only buffs herself.
I'm saying it's
Crossing
8.
open ground might be too risky.
It's actually
Goes in
8.
the back.
Yeah, that's just it. Like the numbers aren't right on the website.
And yet Knudsen delivers, but
'Cause I
he's
remember them
Crisis,
changing
the
it.
hero that always comes through when Low 9 need them the most. But the
Uh-oh.
Surgeons could be
They're all
too
dead.
much damage. Oh, the Karmic Revival.
Oh.
Soulbond, make sure that all of that
Never mind.
damage is shared on out. Wolver needs to be the hero that comes through here
Uh-oh.
with the Omega Hurricane.
God.
However, it's going to be very
Okay.
difficult.
Why no Soul Link, they're chilling.
Smash this, yeah, the final judgment.
Aim on no
Jerky
bubble.
from the other side.
Dead.
Oh, the duelist from Low 9. They're clutching when they
Dude,
need to.
what is
They're
this fucking
surviving like a
fight? Like,
skin
this is an
effective.
actual swap
It's like the
fight.
cost of all of their
What the
ultimates
fuck
too.
is happening?
Pinclone's gonna
Fire.
have this boundary, and Saint Tomoto needs to pull up the Psionic Seduction
What the fuck is-
immediately. But Zero Tenacity, they have so much time to build up the ultimates and then just win. One fight
They
necessary.
got 99%
And Low
over.
9, if they
This
start
fucking
losing
guy
their
get off
players,
Wolves, man.
they're gonna have to strange TP back
Lugia?
into a
Lugia's
brawl fight that
farming.
every
No,
single
the
time
jerky
Red Comp
guy.
wins by out-sustaining
Oh.
you.
It's very tough. Picking up Smashing
Yes,
Hits and
Lugia is
Lugia
good
that
for-
early is exactly what you wanted for a start, though. Serious and Nasty weren't overcommitted to this fight, however, so they're easily finding it able to disengage.
Yeah, this is just going to be a series of dry fights, and by that we mean going in, committing very little, just base cooldowns, no ultimates for Zero to Nasty before they feel comfortable.
Yeah, am I stream
Fully
here?